Shit, that can't be there. Get out of here. You're the worst. Good morning, everyone, and what day is it? We're off to a good start. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good day so far. I don't have my screen anymore, so I don't actually know what you guys are seeing, which is very concerning. I think we should be okay with everything, all things considered. Let's see if we can bring this into view, or without having it. There we go, right? Now, come on, man. It's a little corner. There we go. It's a little corner, but we fixed that. All right, so that's pretty good. Let me catch up with you guys. First of all, Twitch, you need to not show these things all the time. That's terrible. I have tea. And on top of my tea, I have a thermos with more tea. So we're going to do a longer stream today, like I said I would. But I feel incredibly naked right now because I have no idea what you guys are seeing. I have no idea what the stream looks like. Maybe I need to get like a small window down here with the stream without actually. Can we do that? Channel maybe. There we go. And then okay, let's just detach that thing. Oh crikey. I don't have a keyboard. So I can't do anything. Can I pop this out at least? Pop out player. And there's no audio. Okay, right. This will sort of have to... You know what we could do, right? I could just do this by... Shit. All right. Very happy that I have this keyboard now. Okay, right. So, so this is kind of good though that I could maybe I don't have to hide the keyboard, right? Just put it in the corner, right? Like I have like this. I have this space that isn't in frame. There you go, right? You can hide all these details. Anyway, how you guys doing? How you doing? Let me start by reading through chat then, shall I? Oh shit, stream description. Oh my god. Let's do... Very good, very professional streamer. So what should we put in here then, right? There you go. All right. Should have had a little teacup icon. There we go, right? Camera RGB on my right. Oh, the keyboard. The keyboard, right? There we go. All right. Sorry, it's taken a while to get the stream going today. I have recorded. I had to do a sub alert, right? We couldn't not have sub alerts. So I had to go and find something that isn't me to record a video of. And I did that. And then I set up 40 alerts this morning. Whilst Enrico is sort of in the chat going like, get on with it already. And I'm like, oh wow, thank you so much. Was there any pop-ups? Was there ever any pop? I don't know. There should be. And how's the audio level? There was a pop-up. Okay, right. So you guys could see the bunny, right? Oh, that's funny. Hello, Marvin. How you doing? Not on stream. You didn't see. There's no pop-up like around here then. Oh, I'm getting mixed info now. Not on stream. Just on only banner in chat. Shit, why is that then? Oh man, I spent 40,000 hours setting this up. Why wasn't that happening? Oh my god, this can't be. We're off to a good start. We're off to a good start. So there's supposed to be a notification here. All right, that's supposed to be, but clearly not. What if I didn't enable them? Let's go to alerts. Alerts, edit alerts. We have... Yeah, they're all turned on. Gift subs is randomized. All right, let me just try. Does this do anything?
I'm sorry, sub. I'm sorry, sub. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Okay. So, all right. Other than the fact that the alert is clearly not showing up properly. Come on, man. Are you sorry? Am I new to this thing? Bunny double voiced. The audio happened twice. Oh my god. All right. What do we do about that then? Could that have to do with audio routing maybe? Oh, actually, that's probably because I'm all right, okay. It didn't sound good. Oh my god. And it updated the sub goal as well? Did it update the sub goal? When I did a test? Oh. Oh, Twitch, come on, man. Oh, dear me. I've set up 46 alerts this morning and recorded that little bunny video for it and edited the video. And then you can't export to WebM, so I had to do some conversions for that. It's been a whole morning, right? So very, very hectic, right? 2050 new subs, ambitious. Well, I think it's kind of, what is that? If I stream every day for 8 to 12 hours until Halloween. Oh, so there's, okay, that thing worked. That thing had an alert. Holy shit. Thank you so much, Caleb. Spacious, welcome Raiders. How you doing? How you doing, Raiders? Welcome. So this is not for today. This is for the remainder of the month. And if you guys want to know what the goal is or what we're going to do with the goal, just type bang goal in the chat. And I set it to be pretty high because I haven't done anything like this before. And I'm going to have to wear whatever the kid paints in my face for that entire day. And I doubt the hair color is going to come out either. So this thing is going to mean that I show up to Sunday dinner looking like a YouTuber, basically. Because I imagine that the hair color is going to stick. All right. So yes. Okay. But unfortunately, the alerts don't seem to be working and I don't know what to do about it. Good grief. All right, so we're off to a terrible start. How am I gonna fix this then? So if I send a test alert, then it kind of okay. We can at least do this. Let's see if the audio is turning up double now. Was the audio doubled? No. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we solved one problem, but I don't know why the rest isn't working. All right, I don't know why the goals aren't showing up. Let me see if I can wrangle this. I mean, I might as well set the... Oh, did I accidentally send it again? All right, let's see. Okay, so it doesn't seem to change the count now. The count still stays at 7. So I think that's fine then. All right. We'll just fix it in production, shall we? Isn't that how we do? All right. So I don't have followers on. I have gift subs on. I have raids on. I do have hype train on. I didn't know that. I should have probably done something with that. So sorry. I don't get it. Let me have a look at what this thing is set to, right? So we have one gift sub. Variant name. This is gift 25. Individual gift subscription. This freaking flower pot is in the way. Individual gift, anonymous gift, community gift sub exactly, community gift subs at least. Oh, maybe I have to do community gift subs at least. You're changing the condition will remove this variation from the randomized grouping. You went, no, cancel that. Hang on. Can we do community gift sub at least one sub? Is that what I have to do for all of them? And then we save changes. An error occurred. Try again. Come on, man. Come on, Twitch. No me jodas. Okay. So we do community gift sub at least one, and then save changes. Oh, I have to go through and do this for every one of them. Oh, okay. Save changes. Oh, this is so painful. I spent all morning setting up these damn alerts and I did it wrong. Individual gift subscription. I don't have anything for anonymous either. Oh, I'm just gonna set this to community gift subs, at least one. There we go. Oh, good grief. So, yeah, sorry. This is just... This is not embarrassing at all, right? Maybe my face is taking on a fascinating shade of red at this point. I mean, I don't know. It'll be entertaining for you, right? Watching people fail is obviously quality entertainment, right? As long as they don't fail for too long so it gets boring, right? So I'll try not to be a failure for that long. All right, there we go. I have no idea if this is actually working though. I'm just updating. There's no bulk update. Right? Oops, say it, don't spray it. Fiddlesticks. Well, at this rate. Uh-oh, why did that stop working? And I forgot to change all the colors as well, right? All right. And this, so for those of you who don't know, these are my old sub alerts that we were gonna bring back, but because I'm a complete clot, we haven't done so yet. All right, maybe we chuck some anonymous community subs as well. We'll put some anonymous community subs. Put two anonymous, and then we do everything else to community gift sub. I think that should be it, right? I don't know which ones ended up where they're supposed to be. All right, I think, let me see how many I got left to do. Oh my God, why can't you bulk do anything? I'm hoping I'm doing the right thing as well. Maybe someone else want to take over and do this. I'm clearly not, capable of streaming. I've been faking it for this long. 4 years later, I have to do actual overlays in OBS. I had to recompile OBS this morning to get this stuff working. And I had to build a special version of FFmpeg. I mean, I didn't write the build script for that as part of the AUR, right? But it was a little bit sketchy. I was like, okay, so is this thing now going to... Or we can leave one individual, right? Okay. Cancel due to skill issue. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I don't know if the keyboard is like super annoying to have on screen, but it's very convenient to have that. What happened now? What happened now? I have no clue. I literally am clueless. I just opened the chat window, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of things happening in the chat as well. Okay. So thank you so much, Temporis, for the gift sub. Thank you so much, Caleb, for the 5 gift subs, and thank you very much, Marvin, for the 5 gift subs. Okay. That is 11, but according to Twitch, it's 12. But don't worry about it. Thank you guys for the hype train, right? You're clearly just talent. Leave the technical stuff to someone who's more qualified. Maybe switch to Debbie. Well, it's not. The problem wasn't recompiling OBS. The problem was the problem was setting all this other stuff up. I'm comfortable like doing the nitty-gritty Linux stuff. I get confused and exhibit skill issue when I try to operate OBS or do stream overlays, right? That's where the challenge is, right? Sorry, we're 22 minutes into the stream, and this has been technical issues with Toggle, not tea with Toggle, right? Let me get to the top of the chat and say hi to everyone, and then we'll hopefully we'll see what happens throughout the day, right? Hopefully we'll see what happens. There's a bunny on the screen. There's a bunny on the screen. That's nonsense. That's my bunny. I had to get some footage. So I went upstairs and I gave him some snacks, and he just shot out of this little house. And then he did a bunch of stupid things, and there was like a lot of bunny poo involved. So I sort of had to cut that out of the video and do that really bad transition. All right. So here we are. Good morning, Enrico, who was here before we even started the stream. Hello, Caleb. Good morning, Temporis. Hello, Scott. Hello, Tech Penguin. Good morning to you. Hello, Skylar. Good morning to you as well. Thank you so much, Marvin. Thank you so much. Good morning, Marvin. Shouldn't this stream be in just chatting? No, it shouldn't, because we're going to talk about programming and technical stuff, right? So we're not just chatting. Also, I'm probably not going to do TUI toggle for 12 hours or however long this stream is, 8, 10, 12, whatever, right? I might swap over to programming at some point, right? But I'm going to try to stream for as long as I can today. Although the way this has started makes me want to stream for 5 minutes and then place myself in that corner and just sit there and facepalm over my own ineptitude, right? So let's see. Hello, Gandalf. Have I managed to acknowledge the existence of everyone in the chat up until this point? I believe so. Hello, Lace Watch. How you doing? Well, we've done this format before, Lace, but it's still in its sort of infancy doing this. We're going to get to the actual questions. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how we're going to do the questions yet. And I did realize this morning what I can do is I can just set this up with a overlay, but then we have to build like a web server, and I just have to load the questions into it and then do that instead. So that's probably what we'll do. But so maybe when we get to the programming part of the stream, we build that or whatever, right? I don't know, right? Hello, Lady the Killer. How you doing? Hello, Spades. Again, thank you for the raid if you're still here. Well, thank you for the raid even if you're not here. Hello, Yusuf. How you doing? Yeah, I thought we'd have a little kitty mug here. Get with the catting, right? I think I've managed to catch up with everyone in the chat. Hello, Survival. How you doing? Is that all? Is that everyone? Hello, Bone. How you doing, Bonin? Oh man, is that reread thing also showing up, but the text didn't show up? Oh yeah, game dev works. We're not going to do game dev while we're doing this thing, but when we swap to the programming stream, then we'll do that, right? You recognize me? Of course I did. When have I not recognized you, Bonin? Okay, anyway, before I let chat run away with the stream, this is something I talked to Marek about. Me and Marek used to chat like meta streaming sometimes, and one of the things I said to him is like, don't let chat run away with your stream, right? Because if you do, then you're gonna lose the plot with this stuff, right? All right, hang on. I don't know. All right, hang on. I don't know the answer to that question. Right, sorry about that. My wife is currently painting our kitchen, and she's leaving the most wonderful job to me, which has been plastering. She left plastering to me, and I carried the fridge back in yesterday, and then this morning she goes, "Yeah, you're gonna have to carry that fridge out again, right?" I was like, "Come on, man." So while she was at work, I wanted to surprise her by setting everything up, so when she came home, the kitchen was back in order again, and so I single-handedly carried the fridge freezer in, and she comes home and be like, "Ta-da! You didn't have to do anything." And she goes, "Yeah, you're gonna have to move that because I'm painting there." I'm like, no. Anyway, let's have a look. Can I get the job to watch the paint dry? You certainly can. We can do like virtual paint drying simulator. Did you see Firefox had an RCE recently? I did not. Winter coding. Thank you so much, Caleb. Wait, why does it say to username? Why does it say to username? Apparently not. Apparently not. All right. So thank you so much, Caleb, for the 5 gift subs. There are there's definitely 5 times overlap audio for multiple gift subs. Are you sure that's not an error? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Right? That could be or not, right? I have no idea, right? This is the most expensive test suit I ever ran. Very good. Are these official Twitch alerts or stream? These are official Twitch alerts. They are set up through your stream manager. It's supposed to be a oh yeah, no, it definitely should be pages. Is it adding an audio for each sub? It might very well be. Call it the Twitch coding. Yeah, I can't be blamed for that one, right? I can be blamed for using it, but that's about it, right? So 9.8 rated. Is this official, right? Because some of these things are not. They change rating once they become official, right? So like the reporting individual is setting it to really high, and then when it goes through the ringer, it comes out as maybe half of that, right? But I don't know for sure. Sadly, I don't actually have a way to have a browser on screen so we can look at that, right? So that's another shortcoming. So maybe that's what we should do, right? Next time we do this, we add like a browser here somewhere, right? And we can pull up articles and stuff on stream as well, right? It could very well do, right? It could very well be the case that it's just doing that it's just dropping one, like changing it to username for many. So if you sub with multiple subs, then it will play the alerts on top of each other somehow. Oh my god. Still waiting analysis. Yeah, so I don't think that's a problem then, winter coding. I wait to see what the score is like when the analysis is over, right? So we reached 1/10 of the goal already. We've been streaming for 32 minutes. And if we can keep this pace up, we'll be done by Halloween, okay? Of course not. Anyway, should we get into it a little bit, right? Oh, Caleb, Kappa is banned. Should we unban Kappa, okay? Why can't you have a browser on stream? I can, but I have to set it up, right? This is all done with overlays today. So I would have to set it up so we can toggle the browser on and off, right? We're gonna unban Kappa. Hang on to your sockets, all right? Where's the man? I don't do this often enough. There we go. Moderation. No, I don't do that. Okay. Block terms and phrases. Okay. Kappa. It's been blocked 35 times. There you go. All right. Now you guys can Kappa all day long, all right? Now you can Kappa all day long. Finally, we're free. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right. Any hoodles, oodles, or poodles, we're going to get on with this thing a little bit, right? And yeah, so for the next one, I'm going to make a note inside stream bits, right? For now. For next TUI toggle stream, add browser, so we can look at posts. And what else did I want to do? There was something else I want to add. Oh yeah, show question on stream, build some shoddy web server for this, right? All right. Okay, so let's hop into the first question, which is how to reason about cleaning, removing, deleting all the stuff. Okay, so we're gonna this one's a long one, right? I need more screen space for this thing. I had a fun conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Good flex. I also have friends sometimes. Have you heard that our human DNA contains sequences from old times and there is a chance we just carry them around with any real purpose? I know that we have like a lot of reflexes from old times, like the reason why you freeze with fear, especially like around heights and stuff, is so you like stop yourself if you get to the edge of a cliff and things like that. And there's also this like baby test they do when they put babies to crawl over like a sheet of glass, and the baby reflex is like stopping the baby. It's called something, stopping the baby from crawling over the glass and stuff like that, right? I imagine we have a lot of useless things from the olden days, sure. And this legacy stuff that keeps dragging around happens in so many areas, including software. It's interesting. We're touching on DNA, which I know nothing about, and we're going back into software again, right? I love that. I do this myself. I'll be like, all right, so I'm talking to a community of programmers. So I'm going to use similes, analogies, and metaphors about other things to discuss programming, because I think that's just what we do. But I think this comes from a place where you're so used to talking about programming with non-programmers, because how else are we going to make friends? And you have to use analogies and metaphors when you do that, because it doesn't make sense to someone who isn't programming, because, you know, one, they don't know programming, and two, they don't care about programming. I guess many of us have stumbled upon a piece of code or data or even some service, the purpose of which has been lost ages ago, and now it just sits there. Yeah, I have seen this so much, specifically in dynamic languages, right? When you work as a consultant or a freelancer or a contractor, whatever you want to call it, right? You end up looking at a lot of different code bases. Right? And some of these code bases are decades old, maybe not that old, but they're several years old. And the original developers has long since left planet Earth to go and live on Mars. And you're stuck with this project and no one to ask questions from, and you need to make progress. So you have like the worst thing is like when you have like tests that are running, and then you have code that exists just to make the test pass. But the test isn't really testing anything relevant anymore. Like that's all long gone. But it's really difficult in a dynamic language to find out what is and isn't used. This is one of the reasons why when you program Rust, you should make everything private by default. The more you make things private, the more when you do an analysis of the code, well, you don't do it, the compiler does it, it can give you warnings about things that are not used. The moment you make something public and part of an API, that's kind of not possible anymore because you don't know who's using it. So narrow the scope, right? Narrow the visibility of what you're building, and you end up getting smaller API surface, less breaking changes when you change the internals, most likely, and easier to maintain the code. But this is going to happen to a lot of projects, especially as the code base grows, right? But let me keep reading. Yet we hesitate to remove it unless we are 300% sure what we are doing. Well, when it comes to libraries, we can't just remove things nilly-willy because they might be used by other people, right? And if they are used by other people, then we would be breaking their program by removing something, right? This is why programming applications is sometimes nicer than libraries, because no one's going to use your application as a library unless that's part of your application makeup, right? Speaking of makeup, if you guys type bang goal in chat, hopefully you'll get a message from the bot. What we're doing with the sub goal is we're gonna run this until Halloween, and at about, well, I can't give you a time because of time zones, right? But around lunchtime, my kid is done with school. She's going to come home. And if we meet the sub goal, I'm going to let her color my hair and do my Halloween makeup whichever way she wants, right? The only thing that she's not allowed to do is cut my hair or my facial hair or my skin. And I have no idea what she's going to do. She's really excited about it. Someone said yesterday, will she be sad if we don't meet the goal? And I said, she will be disappointed, but she'll get over it, okay? No pressure. I think it'll be a fun thing to do, but it's going to be really inconvenient for me the following days to get all the hair color out. I have Sunday dinner coming up after that, so I'm going to look like a YouTuber. Nothing wrong with that, I suppose, but, you know. Anyway. In most cases, that's fine to leave as is. There's even a saying, don't touch a bleep or it will start smelling. I think that's more like if it ain't broken, don't fix it kind of thing. But I guess don't touch it either. I don't know the qualities of fecal matter, if it starts smelling more if you touch it or not, right? I'm not going to find out. Move on with our life. Matter of fact, our bodies do that every day. However, we find joy in building quality products and tend not to like this approach, and hence the question, how to write such code which is easy to be removed in the future and better, that's something we should have been... How to write such code which is easy to be removed in the future and whether that's something we should even be a bit concerned with, right? So the long and short of it is, how do we write software where we don't end up with dead code, right? And dead code doesn't necessarily... So this is built into Rust as well. I'm talking about Rust specifically now, but we're going to talk about all programming in general. So this is something you get with Rust if you don't make things public. But the moment you make it public, there's no way of knowing, right? If you release a library, and we're talking about libraries now. We got libraries and we got applications. So let's start with libraries. The short answer is don't worry about it, right? If you build a library, at some point, if you make things publicly available to other people, they might use them. If you can't say with utmost certainty that someone isn't using a function, then you can't remove it. Or the alternative is you start deprecating things, right? As part of a cleanup step, you deprecate things, but the solution to this is going to be human intervention. There is no other way around this, unless you have some language where everyone who's coding for this thing is deploying the code to the same place, and you can do something where you look at all the source code and build a dependency graph on all your functions on everyone's source code. But I can't imagine that being sensible at all, right? So... it's the hair color is not gonna disappear the same day. Okay, I understand how the calendar works sometimes, but hair color is not gonna disappear the same day, right? I mean, I'm gonna have to be out in public, right, after Halloween with this stuff. Either way, right? But thank you for your concern. So how do we do this thing? We don't with libraries. We can't. It's not feasible to do this thing. And even less so in dynamic languages, or let's say languages that doesn't exhibit a distinction between public and private, right? So it doesn't have to be dynamic languages, right? As far as I know, C doesn't have the notion of public and private, right? You have a function and anyone who has access to your code can use the function, right? The only thing you can do is if you think something isn't used, then raise issues around the project and start marking the functions as deprecated. That's the best you can do with a library the moment it becomes public. With applications, it's different. With applications, you get this from any analysis tool. Some programming languages has this built in, and you just follow the warnings. All right, code is not used, then you remove it, right? But applications are a lot easier to deal with when it comes to this, because applications have a lot less, there's a lot fewer people involved in it, right? There's no one's depending on your application. Your application is like the final destination of the code, right? So there is that, right? There is that. Hopefully I have answered your question now, Rebel, for reasoning about deleting all the stuff. I kind of like having the keyboard here. Let me see if I can do a mark in the chat here. Mark. Unrecognized command. Okay, set mark. Okay. Marker. Okay, an error occurred. Marker. Dear me. Okay, no, I just get an unexpected error occurred when I tried to set a marker. So sorry. Okay, let's see. Let's go and look through the chat, okay? I've been working on old Java Spring code bases and old JavaScript, TypeScript code bases. Java was easier because even decades ago, people used the same patterns. True, and again, you got a stronger type system with Java compared to JavaScript. So getting rid of things, I say type system, but visibility qualifiers, right? You have public and private and all kinds of these things in Java. So obviously, that's going to help keeping the code tidy. All right. Okay, so the goal is working. That's great. Yeah. School. It's Saturday. Halloween is not on a Saturday. I don't think so. Sorry, Bonan. You're being ignored. Piercings. Oh my God. Okay. If I'm going to let my child pierce my face, we're definitely going to have to do a different sub goal, right? And I don't know if that's going to be violating Twitch TOS, right? If I let my child implant piercings on my body, I don't know what that would be though, right? I think like nose and ear and mouth would be okay. You heal pretty well there. We have some paint thinner we can use to sterilize the area, and then I think I have a pair of like those pliers you use to make new holes in belts and such. So can probably use that as well. But it might be against Twitch TOS to do that, right? It's a Thursday. You thought this would be a dialogue. Joke's on you. It's a monologue. Anathema LLM dependency grapher when never. You can sort of make things private in C. Don't include in the public headers and or make it static. Okay. Structure fields not so much. You have to start getting clever if you want to hide fields. And I think when you try to get clever with programming, you've already lost, right? Be smart, don't clever. Or is it the other way around? What a clever person would say. Clever bites back, yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let's mark this question as answered, if I can do that from here. Apparently, I don't think I can. Edit tags, answered. Chop, chop. Get on with it. All right, here we go. I got another question here, which is, has working on something like Anathema change how you go about your day-to-day? And so, sorry, I'm doing a bad job at interacting with chat. I try to. So when I'm reading the question, I'm talking about it, I'll do that, and then I'll read the chat as we go along, right? Since this is pretty much a major project for you, be it something you want to use, what other people are starting to adopt and contribute to, then also just time spent alone on the project. Has this changed the way you structure, think about your day-to-day life? 100%. And my stress levels are going up quite a lot. As in, do you always try to make time for it and always think about what you do next or what you're going to do that day, etc.? This is why my stress levels are going up, right? Because people are using it, and at the same time, I'm introducing breaking changes. The product is alpha, but just because something is alpha doesn't mean you have to mistreat people who are using it, right? Should probably not do rude gestures on stream. Doesn't mean that you should just disregard what experience people have using your library, right? Once I introduced the state naming, this is going to be a big change, a big breaking change. Hopefully, I can reach out to everyone who's using this and say, all you have to do is prefix this with state and that with attributes, and your code should work again. But it's going to piss people off. There's no way around that. And that's stressful. Has it gotten in the way of anything or actually been beneficial in some way? The beneficial part of this thing is that I think that I can write software from start to end now. It only took me 900 years to get there. I'm joking, right? Partially. But there's something quite satisfying. This was very uncomfortable. It's something quite satisfying with having come this far with a project and still wanting to work on it. But the fact that other people are using my code or our code at this point, this is a community project. I started it, but other people are contributing to this thing. So this is no longer my project, which I'm happy about. And I think there's a balance, right? Like, should you release it or should you try to perfect it, right? Obviously, perfection doesn't exist, but you can strive for it. And should you, how far should you take that? And there are quite substantial changes that are going in there, but I don't think the necessity for these changes would have become apparent unless we made it somewhat public. It's a difficult balancing act, but the moment people start using something you're making, even though you might not have an actual responsibility to other people, you are still probably going to feel that. And that is very stressful. This is why I haven't made the issue tracker public or enabled it on GitHub, because the moment I do that, I need a process in our community which lets us deal with bugs before it gets overwhelming, right? The moment you open an issue tracker, you're going to get a lot of bug reports. And I don't like having open issues, right? It would be nice if you could just say, okay, just limit this to 10 issues and you're not allowed to open more issues after those 10 issues have been addressed. Either we fix them or we don't fix them, or we move them into like a feature request queue, right? And then so we can just go through 10 issues and then there are no more open issues. And then we can sort of open the floodgate for the next 10 issues. So the project is constantly only fixing or dealing with 10 issues. But you can't operate like that. That's a pipe dream, right? That's a wishful thinking, right? That's wishful thinking. It would be glorious. I think anyone who's working on open source software would be really happy if they could do that. Now, to me, open issues are a little bit like notifications on my phone. I hate them, and they do nothing but raise my stress levels. And it makes me want to throw my phone across the room. So obviously, I have disabled notifications on my phone, mostly. But you can't get rid of all of them. But this is a big stress factor. And I do think about anathema every day. And right now, we're in the middle of quite a big change. And then since I had to leave for 4 or 5 days and be away from the project and the community, well, not the community, but the project, and not really have access to the GitHub repo, right? I mean, it's public, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't merge someone's pull request or anything like that, right? And sort of spending a few days away from it left a little bit of a dent. So that on top of everything that's hectic that's happening right now with the life, which makes it difficult to stay razor sharp. Like yesterday, I was completely out of it when I did the second stream. I think we had like 10 viewers and the stream was just me being like, oh, what's happening, right? And then, okay, bye, right? So yes, it has had a significant impact. This is not my first public project I've done, though. I made another successful project, which is something I'm not going to share, which is somewhere completely different, right? But anyway, hopefully that answers your question. Let me get on with chat. Would be smart if we had the current question pinned. That's a good idea. So the question is actually quite long. So let me do this. I think anyone who is new to the stream, who joins after this, is going to read the pin and try to answer the question because they're lacking contact, right? Okay, let's do this thing, right? Current question. Okay, let me hop down to this thing and pin this, and we should be okay, right? So let me have a quick read of chat. Why don't they actually make coding a coding helper in terms of grug? Actually, wouldn't a sort of dumbing down be better? I am reading the chat right now. Yes, would be smart. Yes, we have it pinned. Thank you so much, Locke. How you doing today? Open issue tracker, but let your daughter run the process. Yeah, she was so over the moon about the sub goal thing. She's really excited about that. She ordered like a Halloween costume yesterday, I think, or some parts of it. And she wants to wear the Halloween costume on stream. And I said, as long as your face is not identifiable, and I don't know what to do, right? So I thought it'd be funny if chat can somehow make suggestions to my kid, but then I don't know if I want my kid reading chat. You guys are generally really, really nice, but sometimes maybe some first-time chatter will turn up and say something idiotic. So maybe I won't have my kid reading chat though. But I'm gonna have to find out the chat. Valgrind takes a while to start. Is that normal? That depends entirely on what you're running. If you're just running Valgrind without any arguments, with no binary or anything, then no, it should not take a while to start. How big is the binary you're running it on? Good morning, Tick Tick. Hello, Ninth Prime. Thank you, Muffin. That's a phrase that I expected myself to say a lot when I was a younger person. Thank you, Muffin. Only allow sub or long follower chat. So I accidentally enabled chat only this morning. I was clicking on, so there's like 2 pictures of stars in your quick actions when you're streaming, and one is blue and one is pink or lilac or magenta, but not purple. And that's the pinkish one is managed gold. The blue one is sub only chat. And obviously I got those mixed up. So I didn't start to stream with it. Thank you so much for the raid, null pointer. I didn't start to stream with it, but I almost did, right? Don't expose kids to strangers on the internet. Good call. True, but at the same time, you can't avoid that, right? You can't take devices away from kids because then they can't communicate with each other. So if you have like a group of 5 children, when you take away the phone from one of them, you're just penalizing that 5th kid, right? And you're basically making it difficult for them to interact with their friends, and they're gonna lose out. And losing out, like FUD, is or no, it's not fun. It's FOMO, right? It's not fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? FOMO is fear of missing out. Old person knows internet lingo, right? So there's like FOMO is a real thing for children. For grown-ups as well in some degree, right? But like a lot more for kids because it's very important to them. So you can't really do that. So and by giving your child a device, they will play games online or do whatever, and there's going to be strangers there. So you do what the second best thing. What I qualify as the second best thing. I don't know how you raise your kids. I have no business telling you how to raise your kid. Just like you have no business telling me how to raise my kids. Although this is internet, there's a chat. You guys can say whatever you want, right? But I monitor my kids' interactions. So I sit down with my kid and say, okay, let's see who your friends are here. Who are these people? And let's look at the chat history a little bit. It sounds like a violation of privacy, but when you're a child, you don't really have privacy. You have parental protection. That comes first. Tell her not to worry. My wife is really into Halloween. Some goals toast. Will your wife join us then, Scott? Will she watch my child paint me on stream? Can't you ban certain apps like TikTok? Oh yes, and I have. My child is never gonna have access to TikTok. As a matter of fact, TikTok is banned in this house, right? Well, as much as I can ban anything, right? For other illegitimate children. My mother-in-law definitely has FOMO. Yeah, I think grown-ups can have it too, right? There's only so much Rust introductory content to put out, I guess. I think I'm missing the context of this comment. Let me have a look what was said before that. Install a rootkit on your daughter's phone. Yeah, if you have access to something, other people have access to some things. I know. Isn't the way communism worked by penalizing the group as a whole, or was that army training? Everyone's doing push-up because someone messed up. I think that's American movies. Just raise your kid as you want. Trust me, dude. Do as I say, right? I will, Easy Tech. Personally, I would choose to probably educate my kids about the dangers, because if they want to hide something, they will find a way to hide something. You do, Skylar, but you are not to worry. First of all, I'm going to tell you two things, Skylar. Before I had children, okay? Before I had children, I had this whole plan of what kind of parent I was going to be and how I was going to raise my child. The moment that child plops out, all your plans are gone, burger, okay? Everyone who's a parent is sitting there laughing with me at this thing, right? Maybe you were the same. Maybe you're like, haha, yes, I had all these grand plans. We were going to eat vegetables every day, right? Then you have a kid, you haven't slept for 35 hours, and the only thing that's in the house is like some McDonald's fries that's stuffed under the sofa. You're like, oh, I can't go outside, right? So whatever you think you're gonna do with your kid to raise a kid ain't gonna happen. You're gonna do what you naturally do, and there might be something, but it might also be something completely different, right? There's a lot of people out there, they'll be like, I'm never gonna give my child a device. I met many parents like that, right? Oh, my kid's never gonna have a phone, never gonna have a tablet. Then they start school, and laptops and tablets becomes part of the education, and all of a sudden all the friends have them, and they're like, yeah, but I can't really keep my kid away from the friends. So we bought them the latest iPhones. We bought 5 of them for no reason for $60,000, right? So yeah, don't worry about it, Skylar, right? Don't worry about how you have to not be a child yourself before you worry about how to raise children, right? And we're all big babies. That's where I'm going with this. Nowhere else. You could also only allow her to use Chinese TikTok, then she becomes an astronaut. I don't think that's quite true. Seems SDL isn't entirely clean up when SDL quit. I have no idea. Did you also ban YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and what other form of short form videos there are? So no, my kid is allowed to watch YouTube for up to an hour a day. I think the current limit is. She doesn't watch a lot of shorts, and I know roughly what she's watching. And yes, it is terrible. It is rotting away your attention span. But at least it's limited to an hour. This is what people want to watch, right? The generation that watches movies, we're done, right? If you look at like old movies, the actors are kind of aging with us, and you don't really see a lot of new young actors. I'm kidding, of course. Right? I'm gonna force my kids to use Arch Linux. My kid is using Arch Linux, although she doesn't really care, right? She uses the computer and she knows how to use the computer. The fact that it has Arch Linux on it, it's not relevant to her. Pretty much, Skylar. You first have a child wish before worrying about raising them. Yes, I guess. Thank you, Easy Tech. Thank you for the sub. Did you get a sub alert when you subbed, Easy Tech? Did that happen? Force her to watch Kurzgesagt and other educational content. This is actually a thing in our house. If my kid doesn't... So I threaten my kid with Bartosz and category theory. So if she doesn't do something, like put away her plate or whatever, I say, okay, well then we're going to watch Bartosz again. And that works. And she goes, no, not Bartosz. And then she does it, right? Do you allow your daughter to use YouTube search? Yeah. But there are YouTube Kids, although there's a lot of stupid things on the YouTube Kids as well, right? New Prime sub work, nice. You can watch all YouTube you want, but every video has to be at least 40 minutes long. Yeah. Bartosz is a guy who does videos on category theory. It's easy to switch from a normal keyboard to one-hand keyboard. This is not a one-hand keyboard. This requires two hands. If you actually want to type on it. I have used a one-handed keyboard in the past called a frog board. I do not recommend it. It was expensive and terrible. Bartosz Milewski, probably, possibly. All right, so I've caught up with chat. Let's head on to the question. The current question is, how do you get through imposter syndrome or feeling like you can't do something? Two very different things. I've always had ideas for projects, but I never actually start them because I think, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. Okay, so this is a wonderful insight, and this has to do with our self-imposed limitations. But let's keep reading. How do I get past this feeling and actually feel like I'm capable of doing stuff? This is a really difficult question because it's very individual, right? So we can address the imposter syndrome a little bit, even though this question is not really about that. But I feel like we should mention it, right? I am 1,000 years old. My age keeps changing, right? And I still get imposter syndrome wherever I go, right? This tea looks a little bit weak, but we're not going to make new tea unless it's just all the milk is on top, right? Anyway, you have your tea how you want. I have my tea this way and it's gross, but leave me alone. Anyway, so imposter syndrome. I still have it. I go out to do some work with some client and I still feel like I am new in this world. I have not done any programming before. I'm terrified. And I think this is a lot what imposter syndrome is about. We're terrified that we're not going to be able to do the job that we're paid to do. So we feel like we don't deserve it, right? This usually lasts 3 to 6 months for most people. Some people feel like it never goes away, but I think that might be a different issue, not the good old imposter syndrome, though, right? Well, Dunning-Kruger is interesting because Dunning-Kruger always comes up in conversations with programmers on one side. So for those who don't know Dunning-Kruger, it's a scale, right, where you have two sides of this thing. On one end, you have people who think they are incredibly good at programming, but they are just dangerous and terrible. And I've met people like that myself. At one point when I read about it, I thought maybe I am that guy. And then you have the other side of the Dunning-Kruger scale where people are amazingly good, but they think they're a lot worse than they are. So the Dunning-Kruger scale is kind of interesting. But in general, when it comes to programming, contractors and the likes, right? Dunning-Kruger is a real thing. I have met people, they will fight tooth and nail to defend their ideas, and in reality, their ideas are performing terribly, and you can show them how their idea is performing terribly, but they will still make excuses and keep saying how good they are and all these things. In general, I don't trust any programmer who would say, I am really good at programming, unless it was Museum, right? There's a handful of people that I believe are really good programmers. And if they told me, I'm a really good programmer, I'd be like, yeah, I know. But if it's someone I meet and they'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm the shit, mate. I'd be like, yeah, you are shit. That's not what I said. Well, that's what I heard. So what about addressing the actual part of the question, right? Let me reread this thing again because people probably forgot all my meandering. I always have ideas for projects, but I never actually start them because I think, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. So this is really interesting. When I was a programmer, when I was a freshly baked programmer, I reached a point where I thought, wow, there's nothing in this world I can't build. So in 2006, I think, I had this idea to build with XNA, which was the Microsoft game framework at the time, right? I was a .NET developer. I've been doing .NET for 2 years, and I thought I could build anything, right? And I had this grand idea about how I wanted to produce this infinite world where every individual strand of grass had like stats. And so basically an ECS that operates on every molecule in the universe, right? That is clearly not doable. But in my confused and young mind, I was like, oh yes, we can do this, right? I can build this thing, right? I never built it, obviously, because I would have been very famous if I had managed to do that, right? Imagine a simulation where you animate at like a pine needle, grass straw, grain of sand level, right? And we're not talking about sand speed. We're talking about 3D open world, right? It's just, right? Ain't gonna happen, right? That for loop would kill you, right? So, of course, I didn't do that, but I still operate under the delusion that I can't do anything, right? If you ask me, this is how delusional I am. If you ask me, can you make an operating system? Of course I can, I would say. Can you make a web browser? Sure, I could. Can you write some new drivers for some hardware you've never seen? I can probably do that, right? It's not that I believe that I can sit down and do it, but I believe I have the capacity to do the research to do it. Now, there are certain areas where I think that I would fail pretty miserably, right? If you mention the word quaternion, I'm going to nope out. But you don't have to understand quaternions to use them, right? You have to understand how to use them, but you don't have to understand that four-dimensional math, right? This tea tastes a bit weird. So we impose these limitations on ourselves the older we get. Have you heard people say this? I'm too old to learn programming. I'm too old to start going to the gym. I'm too old to stop eating McDonald's, right? I'm too old to learn a new language that is not programming, right? Like what we're really saying is I have this limitation that I haven't tested. I speculate that I have it, and I'm going to shape my life around this limitation that doesn't necessarily exist. I think a lot of us do this, right? I, on the other hand, am completely delusional and I don't have any limitations, right? Of course, I couldn't become a professional footballer because I wouldn't know what to do with all that money. And I'm never going to perform in any kind of physical activity where I'm competing with someone who's still a teenager, right? Because they will destroy me. Right? I'm never going to be a professional esports gamer or anything like that. But when it comes to programming, can you figure out how to build an operating system? Of course you can, right? Of course, there's emulators you can test this on. There's blog posts. There are like countless resources. And you know that it's just going to be all the way down to assembly. So worst case scenario, you're going to have to learn assembly, right? Maybe you build your own CPU or virtual though, right? And write your operating system around that, right? So anyway, we have all these limitations, and I think to get around this, we have to know that these limitations don't necessarily exist. So when it comes to this thing, how do I get past the feeling and actually feel like I'm capable of doing stuff? You have to have a conversation with yourself. You have to have a conversation with yourself where you start asking questions, right? Well, you don't have to do anything, but this is my take. You start asking questions, okay? What do I want to build? Can I build this thing? What do I need to build this thing? And then you break it down into smaller and smaller steps, right? But you can have another conversation with yourself first, right? Having conversations with yourself is going to be interesting because you'd always agree with you, right? So that didn't make any sense. So you start the conversation with, why do I think? Or rather, let's not use the word why. Let's use what instead. What is it that makes me think I can't do this, right? What is the determining factor that makes me think that I'm not capable of doing this thing, right? And if the answer becomes, well, I don't think I have enough programming experience, then the next question is, how much programming experience do you need? Okay? If you probably can't answer that question because the question is nonsensical, right? You can't answer how much programming experience you need to solve a task, right? For obvious reasons, right? So the next thing is, what do I need to do to solve this task? And then we follow up with, can I learn what I need to know to solve this task? And the answer is probably always, or almost always, going to be yes, of course you can, right? You learn new things all the time, right? Right, let me drink my tea and tell you an anecdote. Let me tell you an anecdote, right? So my wife is doing this thing. I told you guys about this in the past. She's doing these things. She's changing her entire life. And she's not 20 years old anymore, right? Insert mandatory joke. So she's doing these things, very impressive. And she said to me the other day, if I can't get into this education, then I feel like it's over, right? If I can't get my grades up and get into this education, then I'm just going to give up and become a principal or something like that instead, right? And I said, that makes no sense. Why would one setback make you abandon your life plans, right? Or like the goal in your life, what you want to do. And she says, well, I feel like it's going to be too late, right? By the time I'm done with my education and all this stuff, right? And I said, it's not about the goal or where you want to be, right? This is going to sound profoundly trite and stupid, but it is about the journey to get there, okay? You don't start writing a piece of software. You're going to make a game or something. You don't start by imagining the entire scope of the finished project. No, you're going to start with small pieces, right? Graphics, sound, input, putting it all together, getting angry because it doesn't work, quitting, becoming a farmer, realizing that was a lot more work. You don't want to get up at 4 a.m. And then you're back to programming again, and you just do these things. So you kind of alternate between programming and farming until you have a cornfield and a game engine or a game, right? What's I talking about again? Anyway, so yes, these self-imposed limitations that we have on ourselves, if we recognize them, we can move past them, right? So to answer this question, you just have to recognize that you have these self-imposed limitations, and you do, since you're asking the question. Now the next question is going to be, how can you move past them? And that's the question you need to ask yourself and break down how to answer that, right? Okay, we're going to go on to the next question. But before we do that, let's have a quick read-a-roo about what chat is up to. Can you create a general artificial intelligence? So, Bytekeeper, probably, right? Probably. But I think this is, obviously, I don't really think that I can sit down and do this, but again, I sound so stupid saying this, but it is about the journey, right? If you want to create artificial general intelligence, it's going to be a marvelous journey to get there, right? You're going to have to catch up with all the prior stuff around, to get to AGI, you're going to have to catch up with all the prior stuff about artificial intelligence. Because we had like this big thing in the 60s, I think, and then we had like this long pause, and then we had this thing now. And if this thing doesn't evolve into something new from LLMs, then we're just probably going to be where we were in the 60s this is what's called an AI winter, until we get there again, right? And maybe we're not even heading in the direction of AGI. Maybe we're heading in the direction of something completely different, right? So it's really, it would be a trip to go in that direction, but I don't genuinely believe that I would get there. All right, there's going to be a lot of math that I don't know. It's going to be a lot of algorithms I don't know. It's going to be a lot of prior knowledge I don't have that I'm going to have to go and catch up on. And at some point in my life, I will probably have the feeling that maybe you are too old to get there, right? At some point in your life, you're going to start thinking, is this the last phone I buy? Is this the last update I do? But that's only if you use Ubuntu, because you get updates every 500 years. If you use Arch, then you're fine. Boy, do I hate I'm too old. Yes, I'm too old is not a valid reason for anything, right? Why do you have to be too old, right? I mean, if you don't want to do something, if you don't want to start working out, or you don't want to learn programming, that's fine. No one's making you. But saying I want to do programming, but I'm too old makes no sense. Then you clearly don't want to do programming. You just wanted to tell me how old you were in a conversation. That's not at all how it works. I'm just winding you up. It is a self-imposed limitation, right? It's nothing more than that. You can be 90 years old and try to pick up a new language. It depends on how deteriorated, like how much your brain has deteriorated. Okay. I'm too young to stop eating McDonald's. You're never too young to stop eating McDonald's. I have no regrets in my life. I've done a lot of dumb things, and I have a lot of things that I'm sorry for, but really, I have no regrets. I've learned a lot of wonderful things because of the life I have lived. It sounds like I'm very old now. I don't think that's true. But, so my wife asked me once, do you have any regrets in life? And I said, no. But if there was something I could change, that would be to tell my younger self to eat better and train more. And don't do steroids. I don't do steroids, obviously, but I think young me would be more susceptible to that. I think there's a chance that young, stupid me, if we had the social media that we have today, where you see these like 19-year-olds, they look like mountains, right? Meat mountains. It's bizarre. And they're going to be dead before they're 40. You look at these people, and that's like, oh, I'm going to destroy my body for likes and views, right? And I think I could have been just that stupid in my teenage years, right? I'm not going to say I'm any different, right? But if I could change one thing, right, that would be to start working out, because there's in my world, there's no bigger stress destroyer than workout. Like I had all this stuff to deal with when I came home, and I saw the state of a kitchen and all these things, and I just felt my heart sank. I just like, oh, come on, man. Not this. And I know that later on this month, I'm going to have another disaster to deal with. And I just thought, okay, come on, man. No, not this. I was so angry. Went to bed, woke up the next day, feeling miserable, went to the gym, came home feeling amazing. I ran into my wife who lives here, and I was like, wow, I'm feeling really good. And she was sitting there on the sofa, not sharing my enthusiasm. But I ignore that, because people love enthusiastic people when they are feeling miserable about the state of things. But I was just so absolutely positive about everything. And that's what I get from the gym, right? I think a lot of mental health issues that I have had in my life, anxieties and things like that, they would have been, if not gone, at least lowered with the use of the gym, right? Again, I don't think this works for everyone, but for me, it's like opening a valve, and all the stress and tension in my body, all this stuff just goes away. It has nothing to do with getting fit and a beach bod, right? That's not, what am I going to do with that, man? I'm 100 years old. I have a kid and a wife, right? I don't care if anyone looks at me, right? I got like breadcrumbs in my face. It's all good. I'm joking, but still, I'm not 100 years old. Nobody cares, right? But that's what I would say to myself, right? So to get back to what you said, you're never too young to stop eating McDonald's. I don't even let my kid eat McDonald's. Maybe we do it like once or twice a year, and that's it. When I was in my preteen life, I thought I was the shit at programming until I watched my mother when I was 16 program COBOL while crocheting a blanket and holding a conversation. Mad props to your mom, man. I could understand quaternions if I sit down and fiddle around with some literature and do a few problems, perhaps. Will I, though? I might. Well, there you go. That's the attitude, right? Hello, Olad. How you doing? Thank you. Be you. I'm always going to be me. I tried to be someone else, but they got really angry when I did. You can learn anything in 2 weeks. That's a wonderful attitude as well. I don't think I can, but I also think I can, right? I think programming is unique. If you've seen someone else do something, that means you can do it. It won't be quick. You might have to learn a lot, but it can be done. I can't just say the same thing about like juggling or whatever, right? I think you can learn to do a lot of things. Now, I set a goal for myself last year, at the end of last year, and that was to be able to do 10 pull-ups. I'm not quite there yet, okay? And we're in October now, so it might not reach my goal, but having goals is good, right? Having directions is good. So there's a book that I haven't read called Atomic Habits. I haven't finished reading it, right? But the general consensus, or the general idea, what I'm going to say is having goals means you stop doing things when you reach the goal, right? But having systems and directions is going to keep you going, right? So if your goal is to lose 10 pounds, then just buy some food. But if your goal is to lose 10 kilos, then you can aim. That's a lot. All right, let's say 3 kilos, right? Your goal is to lose 3 kilos, and you can do that in water weight, actually, like 2 weeks, and you can drop like 2.5 kilos in water weight, maybe, right? I'm guessing. What do I know? I'm not a doctor. Anyway, so you can do this. You have this goal and you get there. And when you're done, now what? But if you have a direction, I'm going to have a healthier lifestyle or whatever, then there's a whole different... We're going to get back into programming, but there's a whole different ball game, right? When you have a direction, because you keep living into something. You keep making it part of your life instead of making it a destination, right? How much programming experience do I need? Depends on what you're doing. Can I learn what I need for the task? Probably. Be back in a little while. Get ready to go to main. Enjoy. Will it be easy to learn? That depends entirely on your ability to learn. But I am ready for, am I ready for learning it? Do you want to? Do you feel ready? I mean, how can you not be ready to learn something? This seems like a very strange limitation to put on yourself, right? We do make excuses for a lot of things that we do in life. We lie to ourselves repeatedly and we say things like, oh, not today. Oh, I was going to quit smoking today, but then my house exploded. Or I was going to cut down on sugar today, but I found that my hands were made of chocolate. We make excuses for everything all the time. So I think you can lie to others. Please don't. But you can lie to others, but you should not lie to yourself, right? So if you're ready for learning it, how can you not be ready to learn something? Like, what are you waiting for, right? Waiting to be ready for something means you're never going to do it, most likely. Yes, you're always ready to learn. I like that we have similar sentiments here, right? And then you get back to programming and robotics and automate your farming, then profit, maybe. Don't forget to pin new question. Thank you. I will do that. That's a good point. The stuff about recognizing limitations is pretty much the same as what my therapist told me, except he charges me money. Sorry to hear that, PB. How you been, by the way? Will the LLM take my job? I don't know what your job is, so it's really difficult to say. If your job is coming up with trite and unimaginative answers to questions, then well, I guess that's my job. Shit. Quantum computing will give us AGI. Maybe. Hello, Velax. Winter is coming. Yeah, we're in October, man. Get ready. I will never try to write a troll post here. Why not, Byte? You're not programming? Not right this second. If you use Arch, is this the latest update that'll break my system? Shh. First time me seeing you not program. We're going to get into programming later today. I'm doing a longer stream and we have a sub goal. If you guys are interested in seeing me look like a complete tit more than usual, then type exclamation mark or exclamation point goal in the chat. Long and short of it is, if we reach the goal, my kid's going to put makeup on me for Halloween. I am too old to use diapers. I think that becomes relevant later on. Thank you, Sally the Goose. It isn't new. We've done this once or twice before, but the format needs improving, that's for sure. Hello, TZ. How you doing? Welcome back. Does eating better help? Like having a healthy diet does wonders for your mind and other things as well, right? It's just the only reason to not have a healthy diet, the only reasons would be you can't afford it because healthy food is arguably more expensive than junk food and prepackaged long life crap food, right? So affordability is one issue. The need for instant gratification. And this one probably is one that we all need from time to time, right? You get a little bit depressed about the state of something, and what releases a large amount of endorphin, or what does endorphin release? What a weird phrase. What can you do to release endorphins in the brain, or brain dolphins, right? Eat good food, okay? Comfort food, junk food, whatever, right? That's gonna give you an endorphin release compared to eating a gross salad that tastes of nothing, and subsequently make you happier for a very short period of time. Just diaper. Sorry, I don't have my audio device here, Skylar, so I can't do any muling today. Hello, Noctua, how you doing? How do you ensure long-term projects don't feel like a chore? I don't think that's possible. Any project's gonna feel like a chore at some point. It's impossible to get past that. You work on something, and in the beginning, you're going to be really happy and excited about it. And then you reach a point where either you have a difficult problem to solve or a particular finicky bug, or you just don't know how to progress. And a common action for people to do is to start another project, which is, I made a t-shirt saying life is a series of side quests which is sort of an homage to this situation, right? So you start another project and then you run that project until you get into the same situation. And what do? You start another project. So now you got 3 projects that are all stuck on some really hard problem or whatever. So what do you do? Well, I mean, it's cyclical, right? My brother is that age, and it says a lot of his peers in his age range are on steroids. It's really surprised me. It's all this fitness. Absolutely, Sally. I find it vile and sad, and I find it incredibly irresponsible that YouTube and TikTok don't penalize these people, right? That they say you can look like the biggest meat mountain ever. Like take someone like The Rock, right? You can look like The Rock if you are The Rock, but you can be a massive dude or dudette. And then you go out and say, "What? So what is it? How did you get that big?" And be like, "Oh, I just eat 10 eggs in the morning," and you copy some answers, drugs. What was the last thing? The eggs. Eat more eggs, and you can look like me, right? Well, eat more eggs and you can look like me, but it's absolutely insane. If you're gonna go out on YouTube and say that you're a doctor, you can get like this verified, assuming you are one, right? Verified doctor. But you can't get a verified, you can't get a forced verified steroid user. You have all these people like, no, I'm natty. It's perplexing how we're willing to lie to strangers, right? I find it uncomfortable, right? Like that dude, what's his name, Andre, who's like, no, I do 20,000 push-ups every day and I eat 22,222 push-ups every day. I sleep for 3 hours. I eat 20,000 or 10,000 calories, whatever it was. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm going to choose to believe that it's not. It's got 20-inch arms, and it says it gets that from 3 hours sleep and eating thousands of calories every day. I'm thinking, bullshit, right? I don't know that for sure, though, but that's what I think. And like the fact that we're willing to lie, it's like that kid, right, in school. Maybe you had this kid and he would just lie, like a compulsive liar. He would lie about all kinds of things, right? Like, oh, I have like the latest Nintendo, but it's not out yet. No, but I have like my dad bought one from Japan. Well, your dad's a taxi driver in Wales, right? Oh, and it's like all these things, right? But okay, can we come around and see? No, I'm not allowed to have friends over, right? I was like, oh, my dad lets me drive his new car. I was driving it on the motorway yesterday. Really? Were you really? Aren't you 5? Yes, but I'm a really good driver. I did like the shortstop thing from Indiana Jones where I like duct tape like some kind of wooden clog to my foot. Whatever. They're like these compulsive liar and kids, and they can't help themselves. And they're just kids, man. But when we grow up and you start to, it's like the Liver King, right? If you guys don't know who that is, dude is gross, eating raw meat and stuff. And be like, oh yeah, you gotta do the barbarian whatever is bullshit and all this stuff. And then he went out and it's like, okay, no, I'm on steroid. All right. So what a surprise. You're saying that eating like gross raw pig's feet didn't get you the physique you have. It's from all the roid use. Was that it? Right? Like, how can we be like that as grown-ups? I find that really disturbing. And the fact is that a lot of our society is based on us not lying to each other. It used to be that when someone wrote a story or told a story about themselves, you believe them, right? So someone's like, oh, this thing has happened to me, my house burned down, and then my wife left me after she burned down the house. My car exploded, and all this tragic stuff happened to me. And you'd be like, oh shit, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do for you? What? Tell me, what can I do for you, right? And they're just making shit up, right? I do not tolerate people who are making shit up, right? It's just because our society is based around the fact that we have to tell the truth most of the time, right? We shouldn't assume that everything we read online is a lie. You shouldn't have to assume that everything I say is completely made up. I'm actually two bunnies in a trench coat, right? There shouldn't be this level of mistrust that is growing, right? But then you got people who are clearly doing copious amounts of performance-enhancing drugs going, no, I'm natural, man, I'm natural. I eat 10 eggs and do 2,000 push-ups and I look like this, right? Anyway, yeah, and you know what? You die. You die early on. You do steroids, likelihood is your balls are going to shrink. Maybe you won't get your testosterone production back again. So good luck with that. Now you're going to feel self-conscious about that for the rest of your life. But that's okay because that might be till the age of 36. There was one of them who died recently at the age of 36, right? Organ failure or whatever, right? You keep messing with your body. It's not designed for it. I totally agree. Also can add work and have some consistency in a way not to be a pain to you, but get somehow involved with that project. Yeah. That's a cool effect though in your message there. Do more, try things would be my advice to younger me. And do be scared of failure. Or not. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, right? Thank you so much for the sub. Thank you so much. That's my bunny. Where are you? There you go. Right. Oh, you're gone. Right. Thank you so much. That was my bunny. I've filmed him this morning. Okay. Yes. Do more. Don't be afraid of failure. Arguably, success is meaningless. What a hot take. What a bunch of platitudes I'm spouting. But success is kind of meaningless when it comes to your personal growth. Right. It's only through failure we learn. Right. Again, platitudes. Hello Pepper, how you doing? Did you get it working in the end? I was hanging out in Pepper Stream when I was making my 40 alerts this morning. Will we learn neural networks or do we have to wait for that random guy to show up that already knows it? I don't know, Velux. We might do, right? There's a life after anathema. Although I started dabbling in graphics programming, so we'll see. Atomic Habits is a good one. The Power of Habits is another great one. You like that? So the reason I stopped reading, thank you so much for the sub, by the way. The reason I stopped reading Atomic Habits is because I have no habits that I want to break. I looked at my life. I took a look in the mirror and I went, "You're perfect. Don't ever change." No, of course not. But I don't have any habits I want to break. I get up early. I work out. I eat healthy. I have a cup with a cat on it, right? How could you possibly compete with me, right? So there's nothing I want to change. So I was thinking maybe if there's something I find with my life that I want to change, maybe if I start kind of slipping and not getting things done, that was hot, then maybe I have to address that. It tastes like almond milk. That's what it is. It shouldn't taste like almond milk because it isn't almond milk. I was going to quit vaping today, but then I didn't. Hey, the thing is, if I wasn't a dad, I would probably still be a smoker, right? If there's no incentive for us to do something and we don't want to do it, then we're not going to do it. It's committing to learning something. It's part of commitment issues then? I don't think so. Commitment issues are probably mostly associated with relationships at this point, and I think that's mostly, nonsense to put in movies. I think most people that have commitment issues. You know what? Why am I jumping on that? That's not even what you talked about, right? So we commit to a lot of things. I think there's a point in your life where maybe you stop committing to things because sorry for that whistle there. You stop committing things because you're worried that you're not going to be able to uphold this commitment, but don't be, right? It's okay to stop doing something you don't want to do, right? If you wake up one day and be like, you know what, I'm going to be a programmer. Like, I haven't done that before and it looks fun. And then 2 weeks in, you think this isn't fun. This is actually really boring. It's like reading, but with more numbers. And no one thinks I'm cool now, right? But I've committed to these things. I'm going to spend the next 6 months in purgatory reading the basics of nonsense, right? It's okay to ditch things, right? If you're not passionate about it, you don't want to do it, keep looking for that thing that you want to do, right? Question: have you ever had the problem of when you close your laptop and reopen it freezes up and won't take any keyboard and mouse input? I am using Arch with Hyperland. No, I haven't had. Thank you so much, Ninth Prime. Thank you so much. Holy flipping shit, that is a big Dave. Where did you come from? Okay, I'm gonna have to go and get the Dave remover. If you just bear with me a second. You are too large to be in here. One tick. You live in there now. Sorry, that threw me off a little bit. It was way too big to be allowed to be. There's a little one, little Dave next to it, but I'm leaving that one. No one don't bother me. So Scott, there are settings you can look at for suspension. I think if you just search the Arch forum, you'll find where to start poking. I don't really know because I don't hibernate my computer. Thank you for the follow. I gave up on getting sleep, hibernate working properly on Linux. I mean, my screen goes to sleep and the hard drive spins down and all that. Actually, I don't think I even have a hard drive. Do we have hard drives? Do they spin down? No, it's probably like an SSD or something, an M2 in there. Or are they? It's a bit old. Maybe not. Who cares? Who cares? Going to the gym regularly has done wonders for me. You also eventually get to a point where you actually want to go rather than having to. Oh, yes, exactly that, right? You want to go because you know what it's going to feel like, right? And some exercises are just fun to do. I don't know why. And it varies a lot, right? So sometimes I'm trying to just increase the weight of what I'm doing and see what my MSR is, maximum single repetition, which is still 1 kilo on most things, or something else, right? There's like various reasons, but it is fun. It can be very fun to go, right? And sometimes it's not fun at all, but the most important thing is to turn up. But most are good. Happy to hear that. Yep, all good here. Good morning, Dottie. I don't get it. You will draw tits. On what should I draw tits? Hello, Isaiah. How you doing? Your format needs improving. You need a public Google form where everyone can put their questions in. Something like that, right? Well, I did set up a Twitter account. We have a subreddit that someone set up 4 years ago, and we have the Discord. I don't know if we need another one, but I just don't think people care enough to ask questions sometimes, which is fine. Packaged food is expensive too. Yeah, I think you can find a lot of I'm not talking about ready meals. I'm talking about like hyper processed, long lasting food, right? That can generally be cheaper to get large quantities of that compared to fresh produce and fresh meat, right? I don't think that's did it play it? Did it play it 5 times now? Thank you so much, Pepper, for the 5 gift subs. Thank you so much, right? We're over 10% there, right? I think this might actually be doable, and that concerns me a little bit. I kind of got excited and terrified at the same time. Thank you so much, Sergeant Pepper. The proliferation of steroids seems to be insane. Yes, and it's legal to take them in the UK, but you can't legally sell them. But people can openly confess to taking them in gyms, right? The one thing for bodybuilders and actors, but apparently it's even more common hobby lifters these days. Yeah, and I don't know why. Eggs and chicken. Ryan, I'm going to make myself fit for public consumption. I'm going outside for a bit today. You are very brave and we salute you. Enjoy your day. You might have left already by the time I got there. My girlfriend is from Canada. You don't know her. This is true. He went out. He got caught. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Liver King, right? Yeah. Apparently his steroid stack was 10,000 a month. Holy. Poof. Lying is the base of our society. You cannot remove it. Lying is important because that's how children learn that they are separate from the parent. They start to understand that they are not the parent. It's a very strange thing, but so lying is an evolution or like a development of a child, but the fact that we are grown-ass people going around lying, like, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't. Like, it's just politicians and fitness influencers, right? They're lying all the time. You know that they're lying because their lips are moving, right? Sorry, I said I was an orange. Obviously not true. I don't know. I mean, you could be. I have no idea. I knew one of the compulsive liars in grad school. He would tell all this Tom Clancy type military accomplishment until I or another fellow student that was in the military showed up, and then he would change the subject. Are we living in the same society, dude? I don't know. I'm a natural carbonara eater. I believe you. I believe you. I don't know VFX. I know what is original. Only thing I like is to use short pasta for carbonara. Success is not important on a personal level. So no, that's not at all what I said. No one said that. What gave you that idea, right? Success is meaningless when it comes to personal development, right? You learn from your mistakes. You don't necessarily learn from your success, right? You obviously don't have to take everything I say as like, okay, this is exactly like this. You are allowed to have nuanced thoughts in your head, right? And you can go, okay, this is probably what he means, right? Otherwise, everything that we say has to be spoken as legal terms, right? And that's going to make this really boring. The cat cup thing, I would reconsider. Tell you what, though, Bluth, if you want to, you can just go and set up a stream, get a camera and a microphone, and you can get your own cup, right? And if you don't get a cat cup, I think you quickly realize how you made a mistake. You should have had a kitty cup, okay? All right? But you might have to take your own journey to get there, right? You have a cup with 2 cats on it. That's true, right? That's true. There's like 2 cats here, isn't there? Kitty cup of tea. Hello, Lace. How you doing? My cup says smile. You can't kill them all. That concerns me a little bit. I would still be a smoker, but the sight of smoking while being on feeding tube was a bad look. I can see. I'm 34 and I'm still looking. If you quit everything after 2 weeks, you will never achieve greatness. Endurance is important, but you shouldn't endure things that you're not passionate about. Why would you do that? Right? What if you try knitting and you'd be like, oh shit, I've done this for 2 days. It sucks, but I guess I should persevere for some reason. Who's Dave? Dave is another word for arachnids. We're gonna see Spider Combat if we lose. Large Dave. Yeah, it's next to me here, right? Inside the Hoover. I'm gonna put him out later. My mom and everyone think I'm cool programmer. All right then. You're the exception that proves the rule, Riz. You're rizzing that programming, right? Probably a snake. This is the spider stream now. No shot. You don't like Dave's? No one does. I do the same thing for flies and stuff. So you remove the mother, poor little Dave. And I don't think they're the same kind. And also, like, I think the dudes are generally smaller than the lady spiders. So I don't know, right? Is that an American spider destroying machine or just a vacuum cleaner? It could be both. There's going to be a nest inside the vacuum cleaner. That's okay. The thing is, I don't mind them if I don't see them, right? But this one was way too large, right? Probably this big. I did a quick search, and depending on the vacuum cleaner design, spiders may survive and crawl out. Oh, that's fine. I don't mind if he crawls up, right? If he leaves and goes off somewhere else, it's okay. If he ends up by my computer, he has to go again, right? Is this how it is? Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to jump to the bottom because I'm being very slow at catching up. Hello, Destrine. How you doing? What kind of tea do I got? Earl Grey. Need to run off for a bit? Enjoy, Enrico. Shit, we have no mods. Who should we make a mod then, right? Any chance that you travel through Europe for a meet and greet? Yeah, I travel through Europe every now and then. Maybe visiting some conferences. I don't know, right? I did entertain the idea of doing a talk, but I wasn't sure what on for a Rust conference though, right? I thought maybe I want to do a talk on anathema, but I don't know if that's a good idea or not yet, right? We changed the layout just for this stream, when we do this kind of stream. Now I gotta get a cup with 4 cats, right? That's the only way. Pro move, if you never start anything, you'll never quit. Just waste your life. I'm in a situation at work where I've been working as a Java developer for about 7 years across various corporations. In each company, I worked in the Scrum methodology with sprints. I've noticed a recurring pattern, and in my current job, it's the same. Managers use sprint as a tool for excessive control and apply pressure to deliver everything within the sprint. They often talk about deadlines and due dates. The atmosphere is such that I always feel behind and I'm not doing enough. You can take the agile process out of that and you would feel the same. You're always behind as a software developer, right? The only way you're going to get ahead is by completely fudging all your time estimates, right? So start saying that every single line of code is about 18 points and you get ahead quick enough, right? I'll be your mod and ban just enough people so you can keep up with chat. That would be good. Only this is me for the summer. Make everyone mods. The new area of TUI is now. So who should we nominate as the next mod, right? Should we mod Scott maybe? Scott is a good egg. We mod Scott. All right. So we're gonna get to the next question now. So the current question. How can I shift my learned way of programming? Okay. This has been mentioned on stream a few times where people might find a language like Rust hard because it requires a new mindset. For a language like Rust, how can I cleanse my mind and try to write it as intended? It's a good question. This can be applied to any language about a paradigm shift, but how can you get out of your old methods and write language X as intended without trying to morph it into something it isn't? Hubris or lack thereof, right? I think this is more applicable to experienced programmers than new programmers because experienced programmers say things like, I know how to program. I've been a programmer for many years and I know how to program computers. I will program my way and I will program every language I run into my way. And this is where you get into dispute with Rust because Rust doesn't necessarily want you to program it that way. So getting over yourself is probably the first step. Now, I say that as if everyone needs to get over themselves. That is clearly not true. I mean, I haven't managed, but I'll try. When I started learning Rust, the first round of Rust, I was doing pretty much that. I know how to program. I programmed for decades. I don't need you to hold my hand, you fiddly books, right? And I got frustrated and gave up, and some time passed and I gave it another shot. I got angry, I gave up. And then the third time I said, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna start this and follow this book or whatever it was that I was doing the way it is and not try to do things the way I assume that things should be done, right? Don't operate under your normal assumptions of programming languages when you have a paradigm shift. I think that's probably the most important thing, right? And just accept that you have to learn. Doesn't matter how much experience you have. If you don't know something, you don't know it, right? There is no forcing, like if you force a language into a mindset in which the language doesn't really exist, then you're just going to make it more difficult for yourself, right? So that's my take on that, is just that. Don't try to force something into your mindset. Instead, bend your mind to fit the format, right? And that means writing hello world. That means learning about variable declarations and not rushing through the process, right? And you might surprise yourself and find that there are some really basic stuff that you were never exposed to. And you pick them up as you go along, right? Russ says GTFO with your way. It kind of does a little bit, but I think this is a very good take though, right? Or a good question, because this has happened many times. We only have one question left now. This has happened many times with people, right? You see people want to evaluate Rust, and maybe they even make a YouTube video talking about how much Rust sucks, and what they did was write Rust as if it was Fortran or C++ or whatever, right? So like you basically come at it with the idea, okay, I want this value to be used over here, so I obviously need a pointer to this value, because I want many pointers to this value spread out across my code, because I don't want to clone or copy the bytes, right? How do I get a pointer? We have to do this thing where we cast a reference to a pointer, and then we have to use unsafe to dereference this thing. Now I have a seg fault. This language is rubbish, right? But if you just follow the book and follow what is arguably idiomatic Rust, whatever that means, and you do things the way the rest of the community do things, you're going to have an easier time, right? In short, be a Rust conformist and you'll be fine. Practice a ton and get a mentor to read code from people that use the language properly. Read how to properly do it enough times and it will stick. I never did that. I don't think we need that if we can get over ourselves, right? If you don't try to do things the way you've always done things, if you say, maybe there is something new I can learn, and you open your mind to starting from level 1, then I think you're going to have an easier time. And this is probably true with most languages, right? But I know that I am no better myself. I have done this twice with Rust. I've been like, oh, Rust, you work this way. Oh, you didn't. Then you're rubbish. I tried to do, what was the language I tried to do? Oh, Camel on stream, and I was rushing it. I needed to do the same application in like 3-4 different languages for a video I was working on that I never released. And I had no interest in learning things the old Camel way or anything. I was just like doing the head first into a wall approach of learning, right? I'm pretty good at writing idiotic Rust, aren't we all? Rust is okay, I'll suck. Nah, I don't think that's true. Rust made me love programming again, absolutely. I think Rust, so I'm okay, this might come as a shock to you, but I'm okay leaving Rust for another language. But that language has to offer me something that Rust doesn't. And performance cannot degrade, okay? Because I have this perverse obsession that performance is important to me in my terminal applications. It isn't, but it is. So Rust for stations is pretty good. It will tell you a little bit about unsafe Rust, error handling. If anything, Pepper, you will learn about error handling better than what the current book is providing you with. It's good. It's a good book. It's a good read. What's my view on Go? I have no view on Go. I am not a Go programmer. I've written 10 lines of Go in my entire life. But really, I have no opinion on Go. I don't use it. I don't write it. There's no reason for me to learn it. It doesn't offer me any more performance than I get out of Rust. Arguably, it will be less performance because I know Rust better than Go. So it's a tough spot, right? Maybe something like C3 or SIG or whatever could be an alternative to Rust for me, but I know enough slow and succinct programming languages that I don't need to know another one of those. I already know C#, so I don't think Go is going to offer me anything new there because I think they are comparable performance-wise, and I don't write any C# these days. Arguably, I don't know C# anymore then, right? It would take me a while to brush up, but yeah, I don't know. Your program will run slower because optimizations are for losers. Why not, right? Many publications are really good Rust book along with other technologies. They're the best book publication company I've ever seen because they let you read MIP, which are books as they are being developed in beta. Okay. JavaScript is getting unsafe and structs. I have no idea where the language is going anymore. What unsafe do you need in JavaScript? Is there a YouTube VOD available? How can I rewind? Yes, there is, Bonin. This is being written to the YouTube stream as we speak. Into the garbage. So this is really complicated because when we talk about unsafe, and we talk about Rust, we're talking about unsafe being something specific. Unsafe in Rust means that the compiler cannot uphold its contracts, right? The compiler cannot uphold the variants because of the circumstances. So maybe you're interoperating with some C library. The Rust compiler cannot make any... It cannot do anything with the C code, right? You have to make sure that memory is managed correctly with that, right? So for that reason, you need unsafe. So you have this unsafe code, and then you interact with your Rust code or C code, and you do whatever, and it's all, you know, as long as your C code is sound and fine, everything is okay. Unsafe just means that Rust cannot make the guarantees it can with Rust code, right? No double mutable references or double aliasing or anything of the sort, right? So unsafe in Rust is specifically about memory. There's a lot of misconceptions about Rust programming and safety and memory safety specifically, because that is what Rust is offering you. There are a lot of things you can do with Rust that aren't considered unsafe in the world of Rust, and this is what non-Rust programmers seem to struggle with more than anything. And whose fault is that? It's flipping Rust's fault. If you go to the Rust website, there is no list anymore about what the safety guarantees of Rust are. So people would do things like try to read outside of a vector, the program crashes because you did this on the main thread, and now it panics because you're trying to read out of bounds and go, oh, it's crashing, it's unsafe. But that was never what safety in Rust meant, right? Try to corrupt that memory outside of the bounds in the vector and tell me how you did that with safe Rust. And then you'll see where the Rust safety comes to play, right? You cannot have data races, not the same as race conditions, right? You can have deadlocks, you can have memory leaks, all these things you can do. You can cause these on purpose easily, right? Just type box leak, box new, some value, and you got a memory leak, right? Easy. Right? You want a deadlock? Just lock a mutex in a loop. Done. Right? You got a deadlock. This isn't part of the Rust safety guarantees. So when people are talking about other languages getting unsafe, my definition of unsafe is around the Rust programming language. I don't know what other languages qualify as unsafe, right? And in a garbage collector language, you can have as many references to whatever as you want. You're not going to get dangling pointer unless the actual garbage collector is broken, right? But then you have problems that are outside of your control unless you are the language creator, right? Weird flavor on that tea. you can't find on YouTube. If you go to the Discord, Bonan, and you look in the streaming channel, every time I announce my go live on Discord, I link to Twitch and to YouTube. So you should be able to just click on the YouTube link and rewind there. Shared structs for concurrency. JS is not unsafe. Your camera is really sharp. Is this the Canon still? No. Now we're using the CVE10 with the Sigma 55 to 100, right? There's a slight increase in quality as well. I'm doing this in 4K, but I'm broadcasting on Twitch and YouTube in 1080p. I could change the stream to 4K, but the problem with that is that we get no option for 1080p. Then you can only watch this in 2K on Twitch or 720p. You don't get a choice, which is a bit weird. Bonan, that shouldn't be the link on YouTube in the Discord. Is that the link to YouTube on Discord? Yes, exactly. We trust the developer to uphold the contract, to not introduce bugs. And unsafe Rust is harder than C. People have made that flippant comment in the past. Unsafe Rust is just C, but it isn't, because you have a lot more rules to follow in Rust. So writing unsafe Rust is probably magnitudes harder than writing C, right? Correct C. Well, if you do a mem forget, you're taking ownership of that, Skylar. So you have a memory leak, but you don't have access to the memory anymore. Right? Unsafe code is not inherently bad. That's correct. And this applies to languages like C++ too. Just means you need to treat the code with much more scrutiny and restrictions and test as much as possible to prevent unexpected behavior or undefined behavior, which is even worse. And that is absolutely correct. And by marking things with unsafe blocks, we can immediately know where to go and look if we segfault our code. That's a good starting point to look in the unsafe code block, right? And also, we know which code needs the scrutiny, right? Because you might write some unsafe code that is fine today, but due to changes of your code in the future, you might no longer uphold the invariants that are required, right? Unsafe in JavaScript would mean pretty much the same thing in Rust. It's specifically for mutating shared memory across threads. So in that case, I imagine the unsafe JavaScript is not the same as unsafe Rust in that regard, but rather that you are accepting data races. So it has nothing to do with memory safety. It doesn't make sense in a language that is garbage collected. Memory safety is built in, right? You are not freeing the memory. You're not going to have dangling pointer or use after free because you are not managing the memory. If you do, then it's a bug with the runtime, right? However, data races is a thing. If you can have multiple threads in JavaScript, then you obviously end up with possible data races, right? This is why when you just do a print line call in Rust, you write to standard out, you have to lock it first, right? Otherwise, you could have multiple threads, and I did this on stream, right? Instead of writing to standard out using the standard libraries built-ins, I created a file descriptor to one, I think is standard out. And then I created two threads and I wrote to it at the same time from both threads. And you could see the garbled output of standard out, right? But if you do a print line macro invocation, then it's going to lock standard out, print, release the lock kind of thing, right? Which again shows you, you kind of need that, right? If you didn't have that, then you wouldn't be able to print from multiple threads and stuff. JavaScript is getting mutex locks instead of use in unsafe blocks. Interesting. So where is this going to sit? Is this going to be like in the Node or Dino whatever runtime, or is this going to be in the browser as well, right? Which I guess is V8 is in the browser, right? Thank you for the follows. Just landed. Hello, Benjamin. Good afternoon. Did you already give your impression on functional programming languages like Elixir, or you simply never use them? I feel they do help to avoid this complexity around shared memory and a small cost, obviously. That depends if we're talking about pure or impure languages as well. JavaScript is the biggest mess in the world. I hope something else will take over at some point. Probably not. A lot of companies shifting to compile into JS with other languages like F# and so on. Yeah, I understand that. TypeScript and so on. Still, JavaScript is what's running in the browser, and we're probably going to have that for the duration of the browsers, right? Allowing shared memory in JavaScript sounds really dangerous. JavaScript is the Wild West of their world. If something is possible, it would definitely happen, possibly many times. So let me see. For those of you who want to ask questions, by the way, right, you can learn how to type. There we go, right? You can go onto Discord or Reddit or Twitter and ask your question there, and I will address this. Hello, Linus. And for those of you wondering what we're doing with the goal up there, if we reach this goal by Halloween, my child is going to paint me. She's gonna make my Halloween look by she's allowed to do whatever except cut my hair. She's gonna have access to hair colors and various paints and all that. I'm gonna look like a right twat. Yes, you can make the joke now. You are very clever and no one else thought about it. Well done, you. So that's gonna happen if we reach the goal by Halloween. It's gonna be running from now till Halloween. So if you want to see me look more like a tit, see I did it for you, then off you go, right? Okay, we have one new post, right? Did I answer this one? No, actually, we have two new posts, right? JavaScript is not a problem. It's what people do with it. That's a problem. I kind of agree with that. It was meant to script buttons, not create servers. Things evolve, but I kind of agree with your take that the problem is what people do. Blaming languages for things when they do what we know, when they do the things we know that they do, makes no sense. Right? It's like putting your hand in a nest of vipers and then complaining that your hand hurts and then you die. That means you're also allowed to shave your eyebrows. No cutting hair or skin, right? I don't mind JavaScript on the server either. No, the thing is, it's fine. I think so. The JavaScript runtime is not bad, right? It's a pretty optimized runtime. You get whichever one you use, right? You get some decent performance out of it, right? So it's not so slow. There was a point where people would use the libuv loop in Python for concurrency because it was a lot faster, right? So again, it's what people do with it, right? It's the communities that build around it. It's what people do with it. JavaScript is such a big language. It has such a massive community that it's very easy. It's like JavaScript is the pop music of programming world, right? There's a lot of people who dislike it because they don't want to be, don't want to be a conformist JavaScript developer kind of thing, right? JavaScript is the problem. Try working with the number type. Well, the thing is, this, Riz. You know the issues with it, so you wouldn't pick JavaScript to work with the number type, right? You would do that through some other means. Maybe WASM is the solution for you, right? All right, so we're gonna hop to the next question. Let me pin it in it, right? Let's see. Current question. That's not how you spell question. I do so wish I could copy and paste like a normal person. There we go. And pin. There we go. Not the same pin you get in Rust. We're not going to get into that because no one understands it, including me. All right. This is a bit of an extension follow-up on my other question you answered. It says you worked on Anathema for a long time and also developed a basic every day. How do you make sure it doesn't feel like a chore? So the question is, how do you ensure long-term projects don't feel like a chore? Says you worked on Anathema for a long time. It's coming up to 2 years on the current incarnation of the project, or maybe it's even more. If you look at Anathema on crates.io, I think it will say that it hasn't been updated in either 2 or 3 years. And you develop this basically every day. How do you make sure it doesn't feel like a chore? At some point, I feel like I'm almost required to work on something if I spend multiple years on it. How do you make it exciting and durable over a feeling of chore? So, sunk cost fallacy, okay? How do we work on a project for a long period of time without losing interest? The thing is, everything is about pain and pleasure, right? Like this. You don't want to do the dishes on a given day, so you ignore it. The next day, you don't want to do it. You ignore it, right? The pain of doing the dishes is still too high. And then on the fourth day, when the smell in your kitchen is so horrifying that you can't go in there and you're really hungry, now the pain of not doing the dishes is worse than the pain of doing the dishes, right? Once you invested enough time and energy into something, to just throw it away becomes a painful idea that you don't necessarily want to do, right? So everything is about this balance between pain and pleasure, right? Or rather, the pain of doing something is greater than the pain of not doing it, but at some point this will shift. So you have to get to a point where you are happy with, or rather, not doing it anymore would make you unhappy. So you're kind of in a hostage situation with your own creation, right? That's not quite how it works, right? I still feel very passionate about it, very happy about it. I get excited about it. I am a little bit scared that I won't be excited about it tomorrow, right? That is not specifically about tomorrow. That is every day. It's like, what if I don't love this tomorrow, right? But we can't really operate like that. We can't we can think it, but we don't act on it, right? Because then we'll stop doing a whole lot of things that we should be doing, right? So once you get over the hurdle, which I don't exactly know how to describe, I think that the stars will align, circumstances will line up and make you get over that hump, right? Maybe you've been working on something for a while and you're getting close to that abandonment point, right? That all projects have, where you go, is this really what I want to do with my life? Is this really what I want to spend time on? Excuse me for 1 second. Okay. So my wife wants the vacuum cleaner. Should I tell her that there's a large spider in the vacuum cleaner? Or should I just give her the vacuum cleaner? Should I make sure that the spider is still in the vacuum cleaner? I can't see it. Ugh. Oh no, it's still in there. Alright, I'm clearly going to tell her that there's a spider in there. So yes, that spider's probably dead. I don't think so. It didn't look dead to me. It looked like it was just resting his eyes. But back to the question at hand, right? It is a case of getting over that initial hurdle where you normally abandon your projects, right? If you look at your project graveyard and you start looking at how long they lasted and you start thinking about what it was, if for whatever reason you were working on something and then maybe someone started using it or someone else got interested in your product, you're on that day where you kind of go, why am I doing this? Am I even the right person to drive this product forward? Is there any point in this thing? No one's ever going to use this. Do I want anyone to use this? Oh my God, what a lot of work this is. Do I even want to use it anymore? I needed this 30 years ago. Now I don't care anymore, right? And then someone comes along and says, hey, I've been using your product and you're a terrible person, but I like your project. And that might be all you need to push past that point of abandoning it, right? It's a little bit like jokes, right? Do you guys ever write jokes for YouTube videos that you never record? You come up with a joke, right? So, okay, true story. This is a funny, this obviously makes it even more true, right? So this is a funny situation. Whenever I think of something that is funny or something makes me laugh, I write them down, right? And we were at this birthday party the other day. And I'm sitting there with my wife and my kid and her cousin, and the kids are looking a bit bored. So I started talking with them and I said, all right, what would you rather do, right? Would you rather have 10 spiders walk on you or eat a tomato. My kid hates tomatoes, right? So I asked a question like this, right? And at one point I say to my child, would you dare to be in a dark room, like a pitch black room, completely alone for 5 minutes? And my kid doesn't say yes or no. She sits there for a bit and she goes, do I have to perform a ritual? What? Where did that come from? Is that where you go when you think about it? I was thinking like you go to the toilet and you turn the lights off, not what ritual am I performing in it? Do I have to perform a ritual, right? And anyway, I thought that was hilarious, so I wrote it down. But as you write jokes down and things like that, and the more you think about them, specifically if you're recording things, the less funny the jokes are. And once you read the joke 5 times, you're like, this isn't funny anymore. It probably is to someone who hasn't heard it for the first time. And I think it's the same thing with projects, right? You kind of go, I've been, thinking about this project for so long. It's been taking up so much of my time. Does anyone even care, right? Is there any point for this project to exist? And it probably is, right? Your initial feelings around the project are probably correct. So that was the current question. How do you do long-term projects and don't feel like a chore? It is a chore. The short answer is it is a chore, but you got to get over the hurdle where it's a chore. It's a labor of love where you're okay with the chore, right? You're okay with the chore because it pushes something forward that you're interested in. Hello, Raiders. Welcome, Raid. Thank you so much for the raid, Reinhard. Not Ryanair, which is where my mind went. Sorry. How are you doing? I hope you had a good stream. All right, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Cake Dubs, happened to me. True story. That spider's probably dead. Oh, no, we looked at that. Welcome back, Temporas. How big is it? All right, if it can fit in a vacuum cleaner. It's big by my standards, all right? If you don't have context of that conversation, I just want you to remember, it's big by my standards. Hello, how are you doing? How was your raid, right? Hello, Styler. Hello. I was working on C+ SDL2 tower defense game, making pixel art as well, right? That's very cool. Very cool. Oh, brain fail. Anyway, yes, pixel art, really nice. I love pixel art. We talked about it yesterday, right? I'm a big fan. I thought I'd drop peeps off for some tea. Nice, Reinhard. Nice. Can I see some of you? Do you have some art somewhere? Can we see some of your art? Potty time is also have sometimes a ritual feel to it. It's a holy place. Possibly. Thank you for the follow, Punt. That's the ritual after coffee. Doing good. Happy to hear it. Let's do this thing, right? Let's do this where we do a shout out to Ryan. To Reinhard. There we go. If you have like a link to any cool art. Oh, I can't show that on stream. I'm doing the wrong streaming. Oh my goodness, Cretaceous. Okay. We are going to, for those of you who are interested in keeping this format going, go on to either Discord, Twitter, or Reddit. Let's have a look at Reddit. If anyone posted a question on Reddit. No one has posted anything in the subreddit. Let's see. Let's have a look at Twitter now. Now, this is something that is horrible. Nobody likes it. I don't know what to do. We'll try it. Okay, twitter.com, T with togglebit. Let's see if this leads anywhere. Every time. There's a one alert. From the first 22 hours ago. Reply with a bunny. Oh my god, this bunny is an absolute unit. Yeah, that looks like a Belgian giant. That is a massive bunny. Sorry, I can't show you that because I'm incapable of doing anything as a streamer. This account doesn't exist. Okay, I am clearly on the wrong account then. T with toggle, not T with toggle bit, right? Sorry, I am, like I said, completely ineptitude. And then he wants me to follow Chef John. This makes no... I don't understand. I don't understand Twitter. I am old and angry. Pixar is the best. Sure, I can drop a link to screen. Yeah, please do. Why is the E in T not aligned? I don't know. This thing was something I found in a shop and I bought it, and I don't think that it's like particularly amazing build quality. It was about £10. So I don't know, right? Getting fished in real time, why not, right? All right, let's have a look at this thing. Wow, that's really good. That immediately makes me think of Heroes of Might and not Heroes of Might and Magic. Oh yeah, no, it was Heroes of Might and Magic, where you had like that battlefield between the units, and like the art style a little bit. Very nice. We were swooning a little bit over the original Adventuresoft Simon the Sorcerer 1. The pixel art of the background scenes yesterday is so out of this world good. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And then I cried a little bit about how bad the new one looks. Rotate the E on the X-axis maybe. I don't know. I'm not qualified to do that. All right. Okay, we got a new question. All right, so we're gonna try to copy this thing this time, right? So the question is current question. I am struggling to type the word question for some reason. How concerned are you with security and the ability to keep up? I often think I am blinkered as I am in this part of the industry, but how much attention do you pay to malicious code dependencies? Is this enhanced now you are the publisher of a library? It alarms me the sheer amount of malicious packages and the ridiculous dependency on dependency without enough care, particularly in NPM. I fear Rust has the ability to go the same route. I can talk for hours on the subject, but hopefully you get the gist of the question. Maybe I should try to rope you in over Discord, right? I don't know if I'm going to set this up. So for one of these streams, I want to be able to bring other people in over Discord. But I'm also a complete novice when it comes to doing anything with audio. So here we are, right? How concerned am I with security? I think I'm concerned enough for being an average individual, right? I, as an author of a library or as part of a library, right? There are more of us than just me these days. There has to be a conversation before we accept a dependency into anathema. I don't think that we will have a reason to add any new dependencies. That doesn't mean that upgrading another dependency wouldn't introduce something, but I think the cost is worth the risk, right? If we write everything from scratch, then we will get very little done. And where do we draw the line? Do we trust the Rust compiler? I mean, there's lots of people contributing to this thing on a daily basis. If someone were to do something malicious, it might slip by, right? It might happen. So do we trust the Rust compiler? Do we trust the Rust, the crates.io, right? I've also posted on togglebit.io how you can set up your own crates repository on GitHub very easily. It's just a handful of steps. You can more or less copy and paste that if you want to run your own registry, right? Very, very simple, very basic. So really, how concerned am I about security? I think I am concerned enough, all right? Especially as a library author. At this point, I review every single PR that someone submits. So it would be obvious to me if someone does something nefarious, right? If it's doing anything deep in the system, maybe with the runtime, I'm going to scrutinize the code quite heavily. And it's unlikely that you're going to be able to write some malicious code. And now this might sound like a challenge. It is not. It is unlikely that you're going to be able to write some malicious code using the standard library. I'm not going to pick up on that. right? If you start throwing TCP or UDP connections in there or calling spawning commands, I'm gonna see that, and I'm probably never gonna let that pass, right? But it is a risk. It is a risk with all of these things. I run a running the release distro, which means that, and I update my distro almost every day, right? On this computer. On my other computers, it might be a couple of days between updates, but I keep them up to date, which is a good way of getting new bugs and security issues, but also a good way of quickly getting fixes for these things, right? Because the process of patching them in is pretty straightforward, right? I think that's a advantage of this. Now, when it comes to security, I am by no means an expert, right? So I just do what I think most people do. It wasn't until recently I started signing my Git commits. I jokingly said, I know who I am. I don't need to prove that to me. But that was just me being lazy. So I started signing them now. That might not really have anything to do with anything, but you know, I don't have username passwords over SSH. I don't open up anything through the firewall from the outside. And that's like my just personal security on these things, right? I think I'm just like everybody else when it comes to security. I care as much as I think I have to, right? I don't dive into I don't disassemble binaries to look at them, to try to find the nefarious use or anything like that, right? If something takes 20 milliseconds longer than normal, I'm not going to react to that. There's a lot of things, right? What I do when I review someone else's code, we look at things on GitHub, someone in the community. All right, I've been running Rust for a while. This is my code. Do you want to have a look at it? And then I'll be like, okay, I can do a code review of your code. The first thing I do before I open the code is to look for a build RS. And if there is a build RS, I will look inside of it, because build RS will be executed by Rust Analyzer whether you want to or not by default. Then I look at the dependencies to see if there are any dependencies to like GitHub repositories and such. And if there are, I would follow those and have a look at those as well, right? But other than that, I'm a pretty trusting individual, gullible and a little bit thick. But I like that. There was a question that was outside of what we normally talk about. We don't really talk about security that much. I'm gonna mark that one as answered. That's of course because I'm not a pro when it comes to security. Welcome to the Discord, everyone. By the way, welcome to the Discord. Welcome Sent. Welcome Linus. Welcome Mixed Nuts. Welcome B. Okay, let me see. There's a reminder. I need to run an update. Do it. You probably finished by now. Do you miss CMake? I don't use CMake. I have never used CMake unless it was something that I had to do. I have never written a make file unless it was for something I specifically had to. As in, like, there are projects that I've been involved in that had make files. I have never said let's configure all this through a make file, right? From what I've researched, GPG Git signing is only necessary for large projects with many contributors, and they often use keyring that is trusted among the top contributors, and that's a lot of work for many. Yeah. When power gets to the AOR packages, it takes a little while. Yeah, so when it comes to that, I think that's probably quite good for those of you who are security concerned. Most people who run things, this is not a my this is better than yours conversation, because it is. But when you do something where you want to add a source to your packages, for instance, if you're running a Ubuntu-based distro, the way to go about this is to add PPAs, right? And when you add these to your collection of apt sources, you kind of lose control at that point, right? You add, because you want to get Spotify or whatever in there, so you add this thing, and then you forget about it, and you just trust whatever comes from there. With the AUR, you're always prompted with the installation script. What is it going to do? All right. And then it's up to you to just ignore that and press yes or type Y. But you're prompted with it whether you want to or not. So instead of hiding that away, you're forced to look at it, and then you make an active choice if you don't read through it, right? And I personally think that's a better choice than just going, I trust this PPA from today and onwards, right? You're learning CMake, I see. I like what SIG is planning. They want to run build SIG sandboxed. Yeah, I think they want to run it in WASM. Was that it? I'm using CMake a lot recently. It's pretty nice when you start from the beginning with the mentality that things need to be simple and organized. CMake handles cross-platform building very well, though. I think that's not just CMake, right? That is the general consensus of all software, right? Of every bit of code we write, in the beginning, from scratch, everything is nice and clean, and we want it to stay that way. Unfortunately, reality doesn't agree with that most of the time. So we end up with situations where we have CMake or whatever build script or whatever project we have, right? It's going to grow in complexity over time, because tomorrow we just need, this is not about CMake, this is about programming in general. Tomorrow we need to add another line, all right? And then the next week we need to add 2 more lines. And then the week after that we need to add 5 more lines, right? And it's really hard to see the forest for the trees, right? Which is an expression, and then we moved on. Now, it is really difficult to know when you cross the threshold of complexity, right? My take on this is the moment you can no longer hold the program in your head, you've reached a new level of complexity, right? So if you can hold the entirety of your CMake file in your head and know exactly what it does, then you're fine. The moment it stops being possible, then you reach a new level of complexity and it becomes possibly less fine, right? And this is not CMake specific. This is any programming related anything, right? Does having CMake files make it hard for me? Their own WASM runtime, yeah. There is this rumor among those who are not C++ developers and rarely, if ever, use CMake, that the build tools is too complicated, blah, 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 which from my experience is almost the exact opposite. I will admit to having heard quite a lot of rage and frustration with CMake over the years. I have never met anyone, online or offline, because I don't go outside, that has told me that CMake is amazing and they love it, right? Not in the same way that I would happily, passionately tell you how amazing Cargo is as a build tool, as a packet manager, as everything, right? The Swiss Army knife of Rust. I think Cargo is absolutely amazing, right? And I think that having a lot of opinions in programming when you build software, not saying they're having opinion, you should never use else statements. That's an opinion, it's a stupid opinion, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having opinionated tools, right? Like Cargo is the de facto way of doing things with Rust. And most likely, I mean, there's Sargo. Well, I don't know if that's still a thing. Never mind that though, right? Cargo is like the way, if you're going to do anything with Rust, add dependencies, build a project, whatever, you're going to use Cargo. And if you're using Cargo, everyone else around, well, when you're using Cargo, you're safe in the knowledge that everyone else around is using Cargo. Having this one build tool has done wonders for Rust, okay? I think it's really good. There are situations where the build tool is gonna cause friction, but these situations are few and far in between, right? I think, again, the benefit outweighs the cost. At the same time, we look at other communities where you have multiple different build tools and everyone loves their choice of build tools. And this love might not even come from a sensible place like most love does, right? But rather, it comes from the senior developer at the company you worked at. You joined there 10 years ago, you still work there. The senior developer one day showed you how this particular build tool works. You learned it and you know how to use it now. And now it's amazing. And you've been doing this for the last 10 years. Someone tries to introduce another tool to you. You immediately see some issues with it. There's friction and you're going to go, no, not interested, right? If you want to work with our system, you're going to use our build tool kind of thing, right? So I think that's not really a good choice to have. I mean, we say that choice is good, and choice is good, right? But certain things should be less susceptible to choice. And I think these are things that should get out of your way. Let me do my job, get out of my way, and let me do my job. And I think that pretty much sums up cargo for me, right? Cargo add dependencies, cargo publish your package, cargo build, cargo test, cargo clippy, cargo's best, right? All of this stuff built into cargo. You run it, you know it, you don't care. It's a tool, get out of my way. Let me write the code, right? I don't want to spend 16 hours configuring this thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to have to write interop with some other build tool and some other build chain or whatever, right? I love opinionated build tools, right? But I also thought pip was great for Python. So what do I know? I'm clearly a bit of a lunatic, right? Well, pip was all right. Languages shipping their own tooling is a great move. It is. But at the same time, we have a counter argument to this, right? Let's be a little bit nuanced here, shall we? There's async runtimes all over the place, but there's none in the standard library, right? What's that all about? Rust again, of course. And that seems like a completely batty thing to do, right? But that is because there is no one size fits all when it comes to certain things. We talked about what goes into the standard library. Someone had written a post. I'm not going to get into it because the post was clearly the workings of someone who just want to cause friction. Or maybe not, right? But it was written in such a way. I think there's a lot of ways you can say something without being inflammatory. There's a lot of ways you can do things. But then again, we're trying to be heard in this cesspool of noise, right? The signal to noise ratio, right? It's very difficult to be heard these days. And if you have something to say, maybe you just want to convey something, right? You spend an evening debugging a problem and you realize this problem was as a result of something you did, and you want to share your story, but instead of writing a blog post called 16 hours of madness, how I did this thing and this was the outcome, you write, if you do this one thing, you will just destroy the universe of programming and you are worse than Hitler, all right? Because you want someone to hear you. Like, they were just getting worse and worse, our titles for blogs and videos and everything like that, right? And I get it, right? So I get it. I got a lot of C++ experience, I must say. CMake is terrible, but the best we have, and I love Cargo when doing Rust. I think a lot of people feel that way because Cargo is very little to configure. It just kind of works, right? You don't have to write anything. It's definitely not amazing, but it's far from how bad some try to paint it, I believe you. When you compare it to Cargo, of course, Cargo is better. Yeah, I mean, Cargo can learn from other projects' mistakes, right? I think this is this is something that goes amiss when we talk about software and we compare one thing to another. Cargo wouldn't be where it is today if other software didn't exist, right? If we didn't have mistakes like CPAN, which is probably the reason no one wants to write Perl, right? If we didn't have things like CPAN, we wouldn't have learned how terrible some software can actually be, and we would write that terrible software into some other project, right? So instead, I tip my hat to Perl, who took that one for the team, and we can all ignore Perl and CPAN and enjoy Cargo, right? Because unlike me, programmers learn from their mistakes and we get really good software, right? So when people say things like, SIG is so amazing and C is so shit, SIG wouldn't even exist if C didn't exist, right? So a little bit of leeway to the languages that came before. Doesn't mean you have to love them and use them, right? And if you do, you do. It's fine, right? Be a tractor pilot. I salute you, right? Go for it. But it's not like C is shit, SIG is amazing. It's SIG exists because C exists, right? I mean, SIG might be better for a lot of people, but I'm just using SIG as an example. The same thing can be said with Cargo, right? Did you guys used to watch Chris Nova? May she rest in peace. She wrote make files for her Rust programs, and I was watching her streams, and it was an incredible exercise in self-restraint and how not to backseat, okay? Because I sat there watching her write make files for Rust. And my take was this. You do you, okay? You program the way you want to program. You do things the way you want to do them. If you care about my opinion, you'll ask for it. And I said to her once in a private conversation, I think it was, I said, if you write Rust the way Rust should be written and not the way you assume it should be written, you're going to have a lot better time with it. And she took that to heart, right? Still made those make files, but still, right? You need to defrizz your hair, probably. If I turn off the hair light, it wouldn't be a problem. How you doing, Graham? Don't I want to buy some toggle tea? It's really cheap and gross Earl Grey that I'm drinking. Don't buy that. If you have the money, you can contribute to the sub goal. I'm just saying, and see a video of my bunny that I filmed this morning as a result. But that aside, I should probably do a lot, but I'm not that concerned. Yes, drink the cheap tea. How you doing, focus experts? The best programmers can't compile outside of Visual Studio. And I guess that's true for some, but that's okay. If the tool does what you need it to do and you're productive with it, that's fine. It's okay to broaden your horizon now and then, but if it works for you, then you do you, right? I think everyone's kind of free to do whatever they want when they're working on their own projects. If they're working in teams, they're going to do what the team wants to do and so on and so forth, right? Do this one thing to be contacted by an African prince today. I was actually saying to the wife the other day, I have not been contacted by anyone claiming to be royalty from Nigeria, and I have not had any offers to buy enlargement pills in a long time. And I'm wondering, when did that trend die out? Or is it still going, but the spam filters are just that good that it can tell the difference between a 1 and the letter I? Such amazing strides in evolution when it comes to technology that we're making, right? SIG exists because C, C++, LLVM, Clang exists, even if they have a you need to be replaced relationship with it. I think it's okay. To write software that can replace other bits of software. One day, hopefully, someone will write a better alternative to anathema. I can take a deep breath and sit back and let go and say, okay, I contributed my thing. I did my part. We now have something better. Let's move on, right? However, there is something to be said for things that wants to be replacements for the sake of being replacements. That is stupidity, right? We are very quick to throw away software. Now, Joel on Software has written posts on this, and other people have said the same thing. This is not a unique take. I use R-Dubs Grim here on Twitch as a good example of this thing, who's working on Pigeon, which is a messaging client for Linux that's been around, or cross-platform now, right? But it's been around for ages, right? Like 20 plus years. There's something to be said for software that is written and maintained and sticks around. We're far too eager to throw away software and start writing something new again. And for obvious reasons, because you know what's nice, new and shiny. You know what's not nice, dirty laundry and old food, which is an analogy to software, right? Like that was a terrible analogy, by the way. I don't know why I said that. But when you worked on something for long enough, it becomes complex. What do we want to get rid of? Complexity. If we could, we would just completely compress our code into like one line and never touch that ever again and be like, we're done. Let's take a step back and never touch it. Like put a glass case over it and kill anyone who looks at it the wrong way, right? No murdering. But yeah, so that's how it goes. And but there are people who are willing to work on complex software, and these people should be respected and cared for, right? If you are willing to tackle 20-year-old software, then you are a fucking treasure, okay? Because that's not something that a lot of people want to do. Most of us sit down and be, what new side quest can I go on this weekend, right? And I am no different. I started doing graphics programming while I was away because I had nothing better to do, right? I started digging into WGPU and I ran out of crying tissues. I had to say crying tissues because people have such sordid minds, right? Foot fungus tissues. There, I said it. Filters are really good. I manage a couple of mail servers and the logs are filled with Nigerian prints. Oh, can you put me in touch with some of them, right? Because I could really do with all that money. It's always such extortionate amount of money as well, right? It's like $300 million. And all you have to do is pay for some kind of transfer fee. And I never get the money though, right? I just keep paying. Honestly, if we didn't learn from the mistakes and progress from past solutions, we would never innovate further. I have a massive amount of respect for past tools and their contribution and their contributors to where we are today. And many of the contributors dedicated a large part of their time and lives, they said it, to work on things that people nowadays split on figuratively. And indeed, right? And this is more trendy amongst young people, saying this is shit and that is shit. They're very fast. They're very quick to dismiss things because it's not relevant to them, right? Why do I care about C++11? No one uses that anymore. We're all on C++23 now. Here in this room. So I don't care about that. I don't care about seeing your header files from the early first century and like, lol, I can do the same thing in JavaScript in 5 minutes. Your language choice is shit and so on and so forth. This is more something you hear with younger people than older people because older people have died and stopped talking about programming, right? So there you go, right? I think, but that's okay because let young people be young people, right? We don't have to become old very quickly, right? We can be young and say foolish things, right? Specifically, these like 12-year-olds on TikTok who's just monking Andrew Tate and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you doing playing games? You're wasting your life. You should start a business." I will definitely take life advice from you, right? My life coach is 12 years old. And I'm gonna stop playing games and start a business. I stopped playing games. I have a business and I'm still miserable. Where, 12-year-old child on TikTok? Where do I go now? What did I do wrong? Where are my sports cars? Where's my stable of women who are worshipping the ground I walk on? Right? I think maybe it's time we stop taking life advice from 12-year-olds or, TikTok in general, right? Well, I mean, unless it's cooking, and obviously. Not invented here, indeed. I'm still amazed there's code to be written for Pigeon. There's still code to be written. Yeah. Well, because things changes, right? Pigeon and libpurple is just brilliant when it comes to problem solving. It does for the user. GUI development is like that sometimes. They always have GDP of Bulgaria to give. It also happens quite often that the successor has quite overlap of contributors, possibly. No, crush the youth beneath your boots. No, let the young people be young. But I would say this, you have to be 13 years or older to watch this, right? But if you are a young teenager and you think that it's a good idea to put out videos where you are very emotional and confined in your views, let me remind you that these videos might be around for the rest of your life, and what you say and believe today might be detrimental for your future. Now, you shouldn't self-censor because that's bad, right? But at the same time, maybe you don't want to make really strong political commentary, given that the landscape changes, and when you're older, you might want to get into politics yourself, and you making public knowledge about your intimate relations with a pig, for instance, might be really detrimental to your future political career, right? Okay? Know what I'm talking about. Leave the pigs alone now. But anywho, so what you say and do is going to be out there, right? It might be a really bad idea to go out and say things like universal basic income is terrible, and if you want it, you should be murdered. Now, if you say that, you're gonna have a really hard time working in a political field that is involved in universal basic income, right? You are literally shooting yourself in the foot, and no one's gonna care about your political opinions because you're 12, right? That's a big tea mug. What kind of tea is that? Earl Grey. Wake up at 3 a.m. and work on your business so you can be retired by 9. Yes, exactly that, right? Now, I do get up at 4 some days, and I do go to the gym and tell everyone I use Arch, by the way. I do have my own business, but I also don't qualify success as financial success. I was a lot more successful in that case when I was younger than I am now, but I am a lot happier now, at least that's what I tell myself every morning, than I was when I was younger. The only thing I would change if I could start over is I would start smoking cigarettes at 13 years old. I mean, you can start now. David Cameron mentioned, I didn't say that. But honestly, everyone does dumbass things when they are teenagers, and the fact is that this stuff is now being put out online. The person that Temporis mentioned in the chat might be a really good politician, right? Might be. I'm not going to share my views or thoughts on that, right? But I mean, they didn't say you have to leave, and he went, no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying, right? He didn't do that one. Anyway, that aside, right? He might have been a really good politician, but because of something he did when he was younger and it becomes public knowledge, they booted him out of there, right? So if you go and say and do really dumb things because it's in your nature when you're a teenager. Again, I have done copious amounts of really dumb things, right? And if you do that and it becomes public knowledge, right, then it becomes a problem, right? Because that's going to be held against you until someone needs you to do something, right? Meowing is the only true content. Mewling is pretty powerful content. You love mewling at 3 a.m. Go for it. Wake up at 1 a.m. in the freezer. There you go. 1 a.m. Get a cold bath, then jump into some lava. Start 18 businesses. That's how you do it, right? 24-hour mewling challenge on stream. I think I couldn't do that, right? He didn't get booted out. He put Brexit to the vote and didn't get the answer he wanted and stepped down. Okay, fair enough. But the pig thing didn't help, right? Listen to 5 self-improvement podcasts as you drag a tire to work. I think it's very important that these things come from TikTok as well, because that seems to disseminate the best information. I get all my life advice and health advice from TikTok. By the way, I am from tomorrow going to start consuming large quantities of silver until my skin turns blue, because that has to be healthy. The pig thing was just a reason for us commoners to make fun of him. Really? I thought that had a bigger impact than that. Well, I shall stand corrected. Again, I didn't mean to open the political floodgates that I did, but we're all good, right? Sorry, friend, I cannot help you with your vector right now. I am currently streaming, so we're going to ignore that for now, right? And just to increase your net worth. There you go, right? So next up, chewing diamonds. A fad or fortune? Coming up after these messages from our sponsor, Spidergate. Gatekeeping spiders since 2023. Well, there's still a small one there on the wall, right? All right, so do you guys feel like we've exhausted the content for today? Should we swap over to programming? We have done a pretty massive dent in that sub goal, I think. I'm very happy about that. Thank you all for that. I think that's pretty good. As a CIA heart attack gun. Yeah, no, that's true. You're going to go outside and get some food from the pub? Yeah, I'm going to have to go and get some food. I'm going to have to go and get some food now as well, right? I will most certainly be on in a few hours. I intend to stream until I can't stream anymore today. We're gonna go big or go home, right? So should we do like, comment, and subscribe, right? So should we do a programming stream? Are you guys happy for us to do a bit of a swapperoo then? What is programming? Is it like Instagramming? Definitely nom. My wife keeps telling me I should have an Instagram, and I think that's just another way for her to get rid of me. I don't know what her goal is yet, but she said you should have an Instagram. She even said I should have a TikTok, but I told her what I feel of TikTok, and of course, as per usual, she ignored my opinion. But at least I told her. I mean, I wasn't in the same room as her. I wouldn't dare to do that. All right, so smash that like button or your grandma is cringe. Okay, right. Are you guys ready? Should we do a poll? Should we do a poll? No programming TikToks from me. That is absolutely correct, right? We'll do a poll. Should we swap to programming? Yes, no, and we'll leave it running for 5 minutes. Okay. So yes, if you like this format, we got that right. Your vote clearly matters. If you're interested in not this format, then say no, and we shall move over to programming, where I shall tackle the stuff that I thought of yesterday. I do have to eat some food, so I'm gonna go and scour the fridge in the meantime. And if we do move over to programming, I need to do about 1 minute of setup while we swap cameras and such. Not really a biggie. I will possibly restart the YouTube stream as well to make this into 2 separate streams, right? There's one no, and I know exactly who voted no, but I respect you anyway, so it's fine. No, sorry. There was only one no. Yes. I got confused, right? So the majority want to swap, right? And that's okay, right? I think the majority of my chatters are people who are more interested in programming than seeing me chew the fat, but that's a kind of a gross expression. It just means to talk, right? So I think that's the majority of my chatters. But if you, the viewer, aren't a regular chatter, but you want more of this content, then you have to say no in the poll. Otherwise, we're going to swap to Elderly Man Yells at Code. All right, while this is running, I'm going to take a quick break, go and see what we have in terms of food, and then I shall be back down again, right? We're going to do a long stream today. We're 3 hours in, and we got a long way to go. I'm also going to remove the Dave phone. You're coming with me. All right, so I'll see you all in maybe a minute. All right, I is back, and I did. Let's have a look. ¿Qué es eso? There we go. So it looks like we are swapping to programming, which is a pretty good timing then to do this, given that I think we are going to eat some food in between. So let me stop the YouTube stream here. I'm going to restart that one. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, crap, is that YouTube? I think it is, right? All right, so this ends the YouTube video. I don't think I'm going to do anything with this thing, but I'll leave it up there. And I'll see you in the next video.